Okay, breaking news. There has just been yet another plane disaster. At least 19 people have died after a freaking Air Force jet has crashed into a school of all places. Here's what we know.
Today we're looking at TikToks that uncover unsolved mysteries. Welcome back, guys. Thank you to all the channel members for support. As I've been told, y'all, I've been busy July and August, so I'm not gonna be posting as much, but when I do get time to post, because I miss y'all so much, I post. So look, I have time, so I'm posting. Some big things are going on lately in the news. Apparently Hulk Hogan died. There is an alien invasion that's bound to happen in November. It's been going viral, and a lot of more crazy stuff we're gonna be looking at in this video today. If you guys haven't already, remember to like, subscribe. Let's go.
These are my confessions as a psychic medium, part 5. When I'm checking out at a store, your loved ones will scream at me to give a message to you. I have to figure out, are you receptive or not? You're alone in your room and you feel like this? Just know that you're right. There is a spirit there looking at you. If you've ever had a near-death experience or have come really close to passing, just know that your spidey senses are going to be awakened and you're going to experience everything. No one has a special gift like they say. We all do this. They're lying to you. Like, no, literally, everybody does this. We're all a spirit in a body. I don't know who came up with the garbage that spirits care about your privacy. Honestly, they don't. When you're in the shower or when you're in the bathroom is the perfect time for you to receive messages. When you make a baby, you literally are creating a brand new universe inside of you. It's wild to think about. If you cross over in an accident or it's unexpected, remember, spirits will be there to bring you home to the other side. It's not random for them. They know everything that will happen is happening and did happen. If one of your loved ones was a complete butthole here in life, guess what? When they cross over, they will have to go through and experience what you went through your eyes. So don't worry, they'll know. When you put your dog or cat down at the vet, the first thing they do is they get up and they float with you back home to your house. Came with you as soon as they took their last breath. If your spouse passed tragically or suddenly, they will try to sleep with you in bed at night. If you feel a little impression, that is them. If you have a significant other or friends with benefits or whatever you want to call it that has crossed over and you really miss them, you had one of those crazy dreams, that was very real. They are making you experience them over again. Remember, all it is a vibration. There is a dark place, don't go to it. And I can honestly tell you, if you're asking the question, will I go to it? Probably not going to. Remember, do evil people really think that they are? I hope that answers your question. If you have a miscarriage, sometimes that miscarriage is an actual spirit and will come back next time when you have a kid or somebody close around you that has a kid. The other times it can just be for a learning experience, for you to get out of a relationship or for you to leave a person. So it's not always a spirit. Sometimes it's just your soul's way of saying, hey, let's get out of here. And yes, the God word is real, except it's not a man in the clouds. It's actually everything. It's you. It's the sweater. It's everything. We're the creator of your own universe. Hope that helps. You don't need crystals to connect to the other side. In fact, you don't need them at all. You have all the energy. You have all the power within inside of you. Why are you diluting it with something like this? And somebody's going to argue with me about this in the comments. I don't care. You're probably going to ask, why do you have them? Because they're beautiful.
When you go to sleep at night, your soul travels. And there are 3 possible spiritual dimensions that your soul will journey into. The soul gets bored because the body is sleeping and it just wants to come out and travel. The first spiritual dimension is with earthbound spirits, those that are trapped here in between dimensions of time. And the second spiritual dimension is the Akashic records, where every thought, word, deed, and action of every human being that's ever existed on this planet and every time frame and reincarnation that they've ever been through are stored. And the third spiritual dimension is the heavenly dimension, God's dimension. It's in that dimension where you can see the future. You can interact with high-level souls that have crossed over. But you can go to any one of these spiritual dimensions depending upon your intention before you go to sleep. Now, I go into these at will. When I actually go into deep trance and predict the future, I'm right into the third dimension.
The clip that I'm about to show you is pretty unnerving and I don't recommend watching it at night. So if it's nighttime, save this for the daytime. There is a creator on here that has one video on their account and it's a lot. It's creepy. It's very creepy. So in the caption of this video or on the screen, they say that they just recently moved very close to the woods and at their door every single night they are hearing the exact same sound. And this video of this sound at their door is the only video, at the time of me filming this at least, that they have posted. So let's look at that video. Guys, it is tricky living near the woods. Not everyone's gonna have an experience that lives there, but you are more likely to have a creepy experience living in the woods, I swear.
Facts about the ocean. There are lakes at the bottom of the ocean. They're made of super salty brine, and anything that falls in them will usually unalive. Giant squid have eyes the size of basketballs. Some jellyfish are biologically immortal. Like, every time they get old, they revert back to babies. There are zombie worms, and they secrete acid that dissolves whale bones, and that's how they eat. The ocean sounds different after earthquakes. That's how scientists track tsunamis. There's a mysterious sound called the bloop that they think comes from a gigantic sea creature that we don't know anything about. If you're lost at sea, your body will swell due to saltwater absorption before you ever even drown. There's a lot of underwater caves in the ocean that are like full of human bones because a lot of deep sea divers don't make it back up. Some octopuses can rewrite their RNA codes. It's like rewriting their biology just because they feel like it. Did you know that there are sea snails that are way more venomous than any land snake, and one brush with them can unalive you?
I don't know if it's just me, but the ocean sometimes can be so creepy. Like, I could generally get why some people have a fear of the ocean.
If I told you you could have anything you've ever wanted, all you have to do is drive for 11 miles, would you do it? Now, how about if I told you that during those 11 miles, you would see and experience things that no human was ever meant to witness, and the memory of it would haunt you for the rest of your life? Well, there's this thing called the 11-mile ritual, and believe me, some things are just simply not worth it. I absolutely do not recommend trying this because your desire has to be something you absolutely cannot live without, because if it's not, you will find it nearly impossible to finish the journey, which will definitely result in your death. But if the almost certain promise of death didn't scare you off, you have to do this at night by yourself when the roads are empty. Yeah, you have to get into your car, drive to a stretch of road surrounded by the woods, and drive until you see some kind of specific road, which, by the way, this road you're looking for has no name and technically doesn't even exist, but you'll know it when you see it, or so they say. Now, if and when you do find that road, you will turn onto it, turn off your radio, put your phone away, because did I mention that there is absolutely no cell service? So if anything goes wrong, not only can you not turn around, you also can't call for help, which is absolutely terrifying. I hate being cut off from the rest of the world. But once you make the decision to turn down that road, the 11 miles starts and there's no going back. Keeping a consistent speed of 30 miles per hour, you will venture down this nameless road, and at first it will seem like it's easy, which, like, what's the big deal here? It's just driving down a road with nobody on it. That is until the temperature starts to drop and continues to drop until it reaches temperatures that are deadly. The further you go, the more unpredictable the road becomes. It will twist and turn. There's going to be deep potholes that will appear without warning, and you will have to avoid them because if your car breaks down, you won't survive the cold. Yes, you will freeze to death. But don't worry, keeping your car moving is not your only challenge. Just when you start to feel like you've gotten used to it, the sinister beings lurking in the trees will start to make themselves known. You're going to start seeing human-shaped shadows peeking out at you from behind the trees, and as much as you want to look at them, the best thing to do is ignore them, and they will start whispering to you, and before long it's going to sound like one is sitting in the back seat right behind you whispering into your ear. But do not listen, and whatever you do, do not turn around to look, because the sight of these sinister beings is simply too much for the human mind to comprehend. It will kill you or drive you mad. At some point, that radio you turned off may start playing on its own with this calm voice telling you your deepest, darkest fears. It's important not to let it get to you or not to listen at all, because trust me, they know if you're listening, and it's not pretty. By mile 5, all of those trees that the sinister shadow beings are hiding behind will start to fade away, and you will notice a never-ending lake glowing beneath a perfect moon. I do have to warn you though, no matter how beautiful it looks, you have to keep your eyes on the road, because if you look too long, the road ahead of you will disappear and your car will crash into the icy water, killing you. By mile 8, the cold outside will become deadly, your headlights might cut out, and if they do, you need to slow down, but do not stop, because if you stop, those shadow figures will surround your car and start clawing at your windows. You thought that one was bad. Well, at mile 9, your car will completely stall, and as soon as it does, you have to shut your eyes and try to restart it because the shadow beings will gather all around you. And remember, you're not supposed to look at them because it won't be pretty, but if you get the engine running again, they will disappear and back off. Mile 10 will start to feel calm, almost normal, just like it was at the beginning, but do not let your guard down because at mile 11, your car will lose power again, though it will keep moving forward as if it's being pulled by something unseen, and up ahead you will see a glowing red light. This glowing red light is most certainly some kind of hell, so close your eyes, do not open them, no matter what. Covering your ears might help as well because there's going to be some really awful noises that you will never get out of your head, but keeping your eyes shut is what matters most. This will last for about 31 seconds. The heat will become unbearable, your skin will feel like it's burning away, but as long as you keep your eyes closed, you will survive. After that final mile, your car will work again and you will eventually arrive at this dead-end stop. You have to stop here, close your eyes, and imagine what you desired, and once you have it in your mind, slowly open your eyes and you will be right back where you started at the beginning of that no-named road. If what you wished for was material, check your back seat, check the trunk, check your pocket, but if what you wished for is not material, turn back the way you came and you will soon realize that what it is you wanted is now present in your life. But just be warned, those terrifying sounds you heard on the 11th mile will almost certainly embed into your mind, causing you to have vivid nightmares for the rest of your life. But they say that these should be nothing compared to what you've received in return. That is the 11-mile ritual. Sounds absolutely terrifying. I would never want to do anything like that. Do not try that. As far as I can tell, this seems to be like one of those creepypasta urban legend things. I think these paranormal ritual games are interesting to read about. I talked about the Midnight Man, I talked about the elevator game. Let me know another one in the comments so that I can look into it, and I will see you in my next video.
What do you guys think about that? Would you guys go through that much trauma just to get whatever you want? Let's say it was like $5 million, right? Let's say you wish for 5 M's or something. Would you go through that just to get it? Let me know down in the comments.
Well, it's happening again. Remember Oumuamua back from 2017? Yeah, that interstellar object that we still don't know exactly what it was before it accelerated out of our solar system under its own power, which led certain scientists to suggest that it may have been some sort of alien probe. And now we've got a new visitor that's even more mysterious, an object called 3I Atlas. And this is the third object ever that's been observed like this, with Oumuamua being the first. It was discovered on July 1st, and it'll reach its closest point to Earth in October. Officially, astronomers think this is just a comet, but according to the data, this thing could be up to 12 miles across, which is much larger than an interstellar comet should be. And there are some other anomalies about this object that Harvard physicist Avi Loeb has pointed out, which has led him to suggest the possibility of this being some sort of alien tech visiting us. Currently, this object shows little to no spectral signs of cometary features like a tail, which should be present at this point with its current distance from the sun. It's also moving at almost 140,000 miles per hour on a seemingly intentional and very close trajectory towards Jupiter, Mars, Earth, and Venus, almost like it could be scanning the inner planets, and the odds of that being a natural occurrence are apparently pretty low. Its brightness also suggests that it might not be made of rock and ice like a comet usually is, and could be made of something else, which some speculate could be an artificial material. 3I Atlas is also coming in at a retrograde orbit within 5 degrees of Earth's orbital plane, which apparently only has a 0.2% chance of happening naturally. And the kicker is, when 3I Atlas is at its closest point to Earth on October 29th of this year, we won't even be able to see it because it's going to be hiding behind the sun, which would be a perfect place for some kind of alien probe or craft to hide away from our telescopes and satellites for us to get a really good look at it. Kind of suspicious if you ask me. Now, it seems more than likely that this is just a comet after all. Even Avi Loeb says that the data implies that, but it'll be interesting to see what happens as this object gets closer to Earth.
Dude, there's this huge news that's going on. Apparently we're supposed to get invaded by hostile aliens in November. I've heard about it, like I've seen a lot of videos on TikTok about it, and I'm thinking to myself, like, it's a little bit ironic that we're supposed to get attacked by aliens. Like, this news comes out just as they expose Donald Trump for being in the Jeffrey Epstein files. I don't know, just a little bit suspect to me.
So I looked more into this interstellar object that could possibly be an alien threat, according to a Harvard professor. Apparently that study that had been done was by a Harvard professor. Remember how I told you guys that I had a dream that I believed was a vision, that this object was cylindrical? Now the Harvard professor believes that this is possibly alien and possibly a threat is because of the shape of the object is very unusual, and the object's path is apparently supposed to be directed toward the side of our sun that is going to make it excluded from our vision. In other words, telescopes will not be able to see this object when it gets close enough to our sun that we can actually see it. Not only that, but the professor also believes that the rock that came flying through here years ago, Oumuamua, was a recon sent to this area of the solar system in order to spy on humanity. They're saying that this one in particular will go past multiple planets in order for them to possibly set up some kind of spying technology on those planets to view us from afar, or possibly set up some kind of base on those planets. If you haven't seen the other video where I talk about this craft and the vision that I feel may have to do with that, I will post that down below. But guys, we may have an actual UFO, an actual alien craft on the way to the Earth right now. This video is not a joke. I don't know if it's real or not. Obviously, we won't know until that happens, if it ever does happen. Now, if our leaders start talking about this, we have to be cautious, because they could either tell us that this is a good thing or a bad thing, and we won't actually know. We can't actually take that for 100%. So we have to judge with our own eyes when this happens, if this is a good, benevolent force or a horrible one. Because in my opinion, the horrible ones are already here. So is there just an excuse to make a mass farming of the Earth? We can't really say until it happens.
We have some big news right now. A Delta co-pilot was arrested moments after landing in San Francisco late last night, and we're now just learning about it. According to the San Francisco Chronicle, Homeland Security Investigations agents essentially stormed into the cabin and arrested a Delta co-pilot. We're now learning from Bill Melugan, who is a Fox News reporter, that the reason why he was arrested was on charges of child sex abuse material. This was aboard flight 2809, a Delta flight. They stormed the cockpit. According to passengers, it was a very stunning situation. They had not expected it. It literally happened minutes after the plane had landed in San Francisco. Obviously, good thing that agents were able to arrest him. We will see what the indictment says, and we'll see why he was able to fly in the first place. But we'll see what happens next. Spread the word. I'll do a full breakdown on my Substack, linked in bio, so subscribe for free. And as always, follow along for all the news you need to know about. I'll have much more to come very soon.
This is immigration.
America, we have a major problem. We have a major candy manufacturer who's recalling everything due to a Salmonella outbreak. Now, before I get into it, these candies are sold at big box stores like Target, Walmart, and Dollar General. Basically, any of this candy that is coated in this white substance is being recalled. So Palmer Candy is under investigation, okay? Basically, consumers who have purchased any white coated confectionery items manufactured by Palmer Candy Company are encouraged to return the items to the place of purchase for a full refund. And this stuff's gonna make you sick, guys. I mean, we're talking about any kind of candy, pretzels, trail mixes, stuff like that. You see at Dollar General, you see at Target, Walmart, anything has that white coating on it, you could get Salmonella. And I know my kids love coated pretzels and all that stuff from Dollar General. That's what they're talking about, people. It's gonna make you very ill. Now, these were sold by distributors in these states: Alabama, California, Florida, Illinois, Iowa, Kansas, Missouri, Nebraska, North Dakota, Oregon, Pennsylvania, South Carolina, South Dakota, Texas, Virginia, Wisconsin, and Wyoming. That's like over half the country. So I can't stress it enough. If you have any of these products, you guys, any of those mixes, anything coated with this white substance.
Antinatalism is the idea that bringing anyone into existence is morally wrong in itself. It states that life means suffering, and suffering is inevitable for every living being. Giving birth or creating life in any capacity means introducing that life to pain and misery without their consent, which this philosophy claims is morally unethical and humans should abstain from. Last Thursdayism is the theory that everything that exists, including all the memories of your past, could have been created last Thursday. There's technically no evidence that absolutely disproves this. You just assume the past existed because you remember it, but those memories of your past years of existence, along with everything and everyone in the universe, could have been put here just last Thursday. Existential isolation is the philosophy that no one can ever truly know what it's like to be you, to experience the world, your perceptions, thoughts, and feelings exactly the way you experience them. Even in love, friendships, and all forms of human connection, your mind is sealed off in its own truly isolated bubble. No one will ever know what it's like to be you, how intensely you experience certain emotions, and you'll never be fully understood. Death is reality's only absolute certainty. Its absence quite literally defines your entire existence. Every action, every plan, every thought, every breath is made under the shadow of inescapable death. Everyone lives in constant denial and suppression of the thought of its inevitability until it's happening to you. The fact that you are going to die motivates your every action and thought in life. Panpsychism suggests that everything has some form of consciousness, not just living beings, but even inanimate objects and matter itself. Your phone might have feelings, your couch might too, or the rocks under your feet. The air you breathe may all feel to some capacity. Even individual atoms may have their own form of experiencing their own reality. Consciousness is everywhere and exists all around us, just in ways that our human consciousness is not able to comprehend. Solipsism, the philosophical stance that you are the only conscious being in the entire universe. Nothing actually exists beyond your own consciousness. Everyone you've ever known, spoken to, walked by, even those you've never met in your entire life, isn't really conscious, but merely exist as organic objects that move and make sound for your own consciousness to experience. Or they don't even exist to begin with. Even your own thoughts and memories don't actually exist, but is just your own consciousness experiencing itself. And without being able to experience anyone else's consciousness firsthand, there's no way you can ever disprove this theory. But by far, my most personally disturbing school of philosophical thought is when
Did you know
I bet you didn't know there's a place in the United States that actually teaches you how to have superpowers. Yes, you heard that right, superpowers. It's called the Monroe Institute and it's located in Virginia. I've made multiple videos on them. You can go back on my page to look, but I've really not gone into depth about what you learn or what they teach you there. So when I say superpowers, I'm talking telepathy, out-of-body experiences, astral projecting, talking to intergalactic beings, bending time and space with your mind, learning how to manifest almost on the spot. I mean, it is some crazy stuff that sounds like it's coming out of a Marvel comic book, but it's real life. So they don't define these as superpowers. They define them as the ability, every human has the ability to access this. It's just a lot of us probably won't in this lifetime. So when you go to the Monroe Institute, you have to take a set of prereq courses to then be able to do their retreats, which are like 5 to 10 days. Every time you complete a retreat, you will unlock a new level of retreats that you can take in the future. And obviously, the higher the level, the more kind of like supernatural abilities you can gain access to. So if you have been to the Monroe Institute or you have any sort of stories with it, I would love to hear, because I think it's so fascinating that this is going on in the United States, and the CIA has done so much research on it. It's actually called the Gateway Program, and they have actually used some of their techniques and their technology for their own personal gain. But I would love to hear your stories regarding it down in the comments.
That's kind of crazy, no? Have any of y'all ever been to the Monroe Institute? Or maybe after watching this video, some of you guys might go to the Monroe Institute.
We've got some breaking news, and I can't believe more people are not talking about this given its significance. Scientists have just spotted with the James Webb Telescope this very large object moving through our solar system. Now, this thing is going at an incredible rate, faster than other objects that have moved through our solar system. Scientists think that this is something from an alien planet, and perhaps it is some sort of alien civilization making its way towards Earth. Now, this thing is roughly I believe, 15 miles in width, or the size of Manhattan. And as it entered into our solar system, it turned, and it seems to be intelligent. And not only did scientists say that they think this is from an alien civilization, they said whatever it is could be hostile. Now, what's eerie about all of this is many years ago, I was downtown and I was at this nightclub. And as I was just sitting by myself, this woman approached me. I can't recall what she looked like or anything about her, except that she started talking to me about the future and all of these things that would happen. And she even told me stuff about myself that no one else could have known. But she went on to say that one of the things that was going to happen in the future was that extraterrestrials would come here to Earth, they would reveal themselves, and they would be hostile. So reading this and hearing about an object predicted to come here in November, potentially hostile, it makes me wonder, could this be some sort of extraterrestrial invasion?
On a scale from 1 to 10, how freaked out would you be if you learned that something not entirely human had been living inside your vent, watching you sleep every single night? Well, do I have a story for you. So there was this guy, we'll call him Jerry, and he'd only been living in his new place for a couple of weeks when he began hearing a series of very strange noises. Every single night, just after 3 a.m., Jerry would wake up feeling like someone was watching him. He would be completely drenched in sweat, heart racing, grab his glasses and start looking around the room, but there was never anyone there. But when he would finally just settle back into bed, he would hear this soft scraping sound coming from right above him. And one night, after who knows how long of pretending it wasn't real, he finally looked up and realized that the noise was coming from the ceiling vent, the one directly over his bed. This went on for weeks. Every single night, like clockwork, Jerry would wake up at 3 a.m., stare at the ceiling vent until the noises stopped, and then eventually just drift back to sleep. He was fed up, he was exhausted, he was sick of waking up in the middle of the night. So he went out and bought one of those little in-home security cameras, set it up in the corner of his room, aimed it right at the ceiling vent, and figured that this should give him the answers he was looking for. And at first, there really wasn't anything super unusual. Every morning, Jerry would check the footage. He'd see himself wake up around 3, hear the scraping, maybe toss and turn a little bit, then just fall back asleep. But then things started getting weird, because right after Jerry would fall asleep, the vent cover would start to move like something was pushing it open from the inside, and then the camera footage would cut out, only coming back a few hours later, usually when Jerry was waking up for work. So not only did it look like something was trying to get out of the vent above his bed, but also 3 hours of footage went missing every night, and Jerry had no clue why. Then one night, something changed. Jerry didn't wake up at 3. This time he woke up a little after 4, and he immediately grabbed his glasses and his phone, half hoping the camera had finally caught something, but also dreading what he might see. And I'm telling you, what he saw was like a horror movie, but it wasn't actors on the screen, it was him lying in his own bed. The video showed Jerry asleep, and then, like every night before, the vent above his bed slowly slid open like someone inside was trying to get out. But this time, instead of the video cutting out, it kept recording as a long, pale arm reached out, followed by a second. Both arms were so unnaturally long, stretching out so far that the long bony fingers attached to the hands almost touched Jerry, who was all the way in his bed. But instead of grabbing Jerry, the arms moved and folded, the joints were twisting and bending in the wrong direction. Jerry had never seen anything like it. Whatever this thing was, it was trying to pull itself completely out of the vent, but just as the top of the head began to peek out, the screen went black. Now, a few days later, Jerry's landlord showed up to collect the rent, which Jerry had never been late on before, but this time, not only had he missed it, no one had seen or heard from him in days. So when the landlord got to Jerry's house, the door was unlocked, he let himself in, but Jerry was nowhere to be found, so he was walking into the bedroom when he noticed the security camera Jerry had nailed on the wall. And of course, in typical landlord fashion, he was upset that Jerry had nailed something to the wall. He wasn't supposed to do it, so as he stepped closer to check the damage from the nails, his foot bumped something. He goes to crouch down down, he grabs it, and he realizes it's Jerry's phone, which was not a good sign considering Jerry hadn't been heard from in days and was not at home. So the landlord turned the phone on and it opened right to the security camera app, and although it wasn't necessarily his business, he was so freaked out that he hit play on the most recent clip. And I can tell you that is something he wishes he never did, because what he saw is something he will never forget. The video starts off pretty normal. Jerry's sitting on the edge of his bed facing away from the vent. The timestamp shows 4:05 a.m. He's hunched over, maybe watching something on his phone, and for a moment that is all you see. But in the top corner of the video, the vent cover starts to move. The landlord keeps watching, and then he sees these two hands reach out from the vent, pressing flat against the ceiling. The proportions were off, the arms were way too long, and the elbows were bending in ways that just didn't make any sense. Whatever this thing was, it wasn't human. In the way it was pulling itself out of the vent and reaching out for Jerry, the landlord could tell it had done this plenty of times before. But just as the creature's head was about to come through the vent, the screen went dark. But it's not over. When the footage cuts back on, Jerry's legs are hanging out of the vent, just dangling there with no ounce of resistance or struggle, and he is slowly being pulled into the vent until the same non-human hand reaches out, grabs the vent cover, and snaps it shut. Obviously, the landlord freaked out, dropped the phone, called the cops, but despite a thorough search of the house, they found nothing. When they got to the vent above Jerry's bed, they had to pry the cover off. It was covered in this thick layer of dust, like no one had touched it in years. But the landlord was certain about what he'd seen on the video. When he tried to show the cops, the footage was gone. The security app just showed the startup screen like the camera had never even been connected. But of course, the investigators agreed to check the vent because the landlord was so insistent. And when they pried off the dusty vent cover and looked inside, they were shocked to find Jerry's glasses folded neatly and resting right on the edge of the vent opening. No one knows what happened to Jerry, and no one believes the landlord about the video footage, but there's no denying Jerry's glasses were found in that vent. So if you ever hear a soft scraping noise coming from your vents, maybe it's best to stay curious. You never know what might be watching you while you sleep. If you have made it to the end of this video and you haven't had a chance to check the caption, this is another fictional story. It's completely made up, didn't happen. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this story, let me know in the comments. Let me know if I should write another scary story and make a video about it, and I will see you in my next video.
Did you know there's a shark that annoyed the US Navy so much they had to redesign submarines? It's called the cookie cutter shark. It glows in the dark, it's the size of a Subway sandwich, and for some reason, it thinks everything is a snack. It bites whales, dolphins, seals, tuna, submarines, underwater cables, and even random humans, just to leave a perfect circle. It just grabs on, spins like a blender, takes a chunk, and dips like nothing happened. Even great white sharks have cookie cutter scars. Literal ocean predators get bullied by this idiot. In the 1970s, the Navy kept finding circular holes in their underwater gear. They thought it was enemy weapon, but turns out it was just this tiny shark. So the Navy wrapped their submarine gears in fiberglass, just to stop getting chewed.
Assault in Las Vegas is about to skyrocket because Uno has officially been added as a table game at one of the casinos. In fact, Uno didn't just get added as a game. They opened an entire social club at the Palms Casino Resort and then filled it with branded stuff like pool tables, bowling alleys, bars, and even Uno-themed rooms. But the only thing I want to know is what game are they playing? Because I swear, if that dealer tells me I can't put a +2 on a +2, hands will be thrown. So the question is this a good idea, or is it just gonna end badly? Okay, breaking news. There has just been yet another plane disaster. At least 19 people have died after a freaking Air Force jet has crashed into a school of all places. Here's what we know. So this is happening in the capital city of Bangladesh, and reports say that a military plane which was in training crashed into a college and school campus while there were classes on at the time. And on top of the death toll, which includes adults and children, more than 50 people have been hospitalized with severe burns. People can be seen gathering on the school's playing fields, looking on in horror as smoke and flames rise from the building. Man, there were even some pictures that people have posted on X showing the aftermath of inside some of the classes. Truly, truly horrific scenes. Honestly, thoughts are with the parents right now, and I'll keep you guys updated when we find out how something like this could have happened.
This is how Hulk Hogan died.
He was the face of WWE for decades, the iconic red and yellow, the handlebar mustache, and the most legendary WWE move of all time, the leg drop. Hulk Hogan wasn't just a wrestler, he was a pop culture icon. He sold out arenas and even starred in big movies. Over the years, Hogan battled through countless surgeries, chronic pain, and serious health issues that left their mark. He slowly faded from the spotlight, only making rare appearances that often left controversy and headlines wherever he went. Then, on July 24th, 2025, Hulk Hogan was found unresponsive in his Florida home. Paramedics rushed in, but it was too late. He was pronounced dead at just 70 years old. His family said he passed peacefully, but the weird part is they never gave the cause of death, so fans online started speculating. Some said it was a heart attack brought on by decades of wear and tear in the ring. Others blamed years of gear use. Whatever it was, wrestling lost its biggest legend, just one day after losing its biggest heavy metal icon. What is going on in the world?
That's right, Ozzy Osbourne also did die. I forgot to put that in this video. I should have put that in the video. But yeah, with Hulk Hogan, I heard that he died from a sudden cardiac arrest. I have this friend that works in like a hospital in Florida, and she told me that based off of the report that he did die of a sudden cardiac arrest. In my opinion, it could have been from anything. Maybe it could have possibly been from the steroids he was taking, or I've heard this other theory that apparently someone sold him like a bad batch of drugs. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't really know, but R.I.P. Hulk Hogan and Ozzy Osbourne. Maybe in my next video I might put in some like conspiracy theories about why they both died.
Time to get creeped out. Let's talk about someone else who tried the man in the fields ritual. And by the way, if you don't know what the man in the fields ritual is, it's essentially where you summon this entity to stand in your backyard while you complete some tasks inside your house. And if you complete it within a certain amount of time, you either get physical safety for a whole year, physical and financial safety for a whole year, or physical and financial safety and no negative consequences for any of your actions for a whole year. So anyway, for storytelling purposes, we will name this person Cora. Cora decided she basically wanted to do the ritual for shits and giggles. She wanted to do the 3-hour version, which is the easiest one, to see if she could get physical safety for a year. I mean, the ritual says you'll go a year without even getting a paper cut. So stubbing your toe, not gonna happen. Stepping on Lego barefoot, not gonna happen. So at 9 o'clock, she went outside into her backyard and said, "But who will scare the crows away?" And she said it 7 times. And as soon as she said it the 7th time, she heard,
"That's not your biggest problem."
Scary. But this girl was a Virgo, and I'm a Virgo, so I understand. She was meticulous. Actually, I don't understand. Sometimes I understand. She was meticulous, and the bitch closed everything she needed to. She did not miss a single piece of Tupperware, any jars, the apps on her phone, a book laying open on the counter. She didn't miss anything. She had a really small house, so she was actually able to finish closing everything super quickly. By the way, that's what you have to do in the ritual. You have to close every single item in your house, and you have to have a safe room with a crucifix in it, because it's going to be bad news bears for you, probably, if you fuck up. But like I said, she closed everything. She was done within about an hour and a half, so that at that point, she was actually able to go around again and double check everything. And everything was closed in every drawer, in every cupboard, in every closet, in every space of her house. Even the toilet seat, okay, guys? Even the drain and her sink and in her bathtub. Throughout the 3 hours, she does not look outside. She also doesn't see the ashen man, but she does keep seeing something out of the corner of her eye, and she's not sure if it's just her mind playing tricks on her or if it's the ashen man. At about 10 minutes left to midnight, she goes into her safe room with her crucifix and lays down in bed, closing her eyes and her mouth, because you have to do that as well. Creepy. Now, the rules specifically say once you close your eyes, don't open them ever at all until morning. So at some point in the middle of the night, she has no idea what time because she couldn't open her eyes, but she could tell it was still very dark out. So she knew it was not morning. But at one point, she wakes up and thankfully remembers that she can't open her eyes, but she's hearing something, and it's terrifying. She can hear footsteps walking back and forth outside of her bedroom door. She said that she thought she was literally going to shit the bed. Like, that's terrifying, guys. I would lose my mind. I would lose it. So creepy. She laid there with her eyes closed, sweating and terrified while she heard the steps going back and forth, back and forth. She doesn't know how long this went on for. She couldn't fall asleep while it was happening, but she thinks it was for about 5 or 10 minutes, nothing too crazy. However, it was, again, walking back and forth past her bedroom door, and then suddenly she heard the footsteps stop, and it sounded close, like right near her bedroom door, and she was just holding her breath, laying there with her eyes closed, waiting to see if anything happened. Nothing happened. So eventually she fell back asleep. I don't know how. I would be laying there with my eyes closed until like 6 a.m, no joke. You know why? I'm a paranormal investigator and I love experiencing paranormal things, okay? But when you invite something to your home, an entity that specifically is known to you, if you fuck up your ritual, that's terrifying. That's not cool. That's not fun. I don't want to do that. Anyways, the next morning, she wakes up and she's like, okay, I think this ritual is real because there was something walking outside my bedroom door last night. And in her mind, she's like, I've got physical safety for a year. So score, Bob's your uncle. But it's only within a few days that things start to get weird. 3 days since she did the ritual, she's coming home from work, gets inside and notices that every single drawer, cupboard, closet door, microwave door, everything in the house open. Why? She did the ritual properly. Who's coming back here? Who's coming to hang out? And why are they coming uninvited? Because they were invited the first time. Now they're not invited. Now they're not invited. So she closes all the cupboards, all the drawers, all the closets. The next day she comes home from work. And this is random. Of course, this girl had a locket because that's like such a creepy piece of jewelry, like such a cool, creepy piece of jewelry. But anyway, she had a locket and it had a picture of her grandmother in it who had passed away. She always had it hanging on this little like jewelry tree that she had in her bedroom. She gets home from work. She goes into her bedroom. She's going to change out of her work clothes and notices that the locket is on the ground in the bedroom. And she's like, that doesn't make sense. Like, I didn't do anything that would cause this to fall. I didn't even come near my jewelry this morning. I just put my shit on and went to work. Now, the day after the locket is found, she gets home from work and nothing is amiss, but she has this very strong feeling that she's being watched. Anywhere she goes in the house, she feels like there are eyes on her. And she does acknowledge that this could be paranoia, but she doesn't think it's paranoia because of what happens at night. At around 10:30 that night, Cora crawls into bed and decides she's going to read a book. Try to get her mind off of things. Try to calm herself down. So she's been reading her book for about 45 minutes when she hears, guess, walking in the hallway again. And she lives alone. The girl lives alone. The only pet she has is a fucking goldfish. So this is not normal for her to be hearing someone walking in her hallway. The footsteps are the exact same as the night she did the ritual. Back and forth, back and forth. For about 10 minutes, it's time she can look at the clock. So her eyes are open. But there's no sound of the footsteps stopping exactly in front of her door. And eventually the sound kind of just dissipates. So she's able to kind of convince herself that like, maybe I just imagined that, or maybe like I'm crazy and just super paranoid from doing the ritual. The next morning, Cora's heading out to work again. She goes out her back door to go walk to her garage where her car is parked. When she turns around to lock her back door, in the glass of the door, she sees a reflection of something behind her, a scarecrow. And obviously she is startled and whips around and nothing's there. Again, she's like, okay, I could be imagining this. The next day is a Saturday. Cora doesn't have work. She spends the morning watching TV, drinking coffee, and then starts doing a little afternoon clean. And the TV is off at this point. She's walking through her living room vacuuming when she sees in the reflection of the TV a scarecrow behind her. She whips around again, startled. Nothing's there. Cora is getting more and more freaked out. And that night she doesn't sleep at all. The next day, which is Sunday, nothing happens. She has a really good day until she goes to bed. She walks into her bedroom, turns off the light, and goes to crawl into bed when she notices a reflection once again in her bedroom mirror, the scarecrow. This is when I would be seeking like spiritual help. I would like be going to anyone I know who knows anything about like spirituality, cleansing, healing, and I'd be like, help me. I fucked up because that's creepy. Anyways, this is Cora's final line of her story and it gives me chills. Every night since then, he's standing closer. I really hope Cora's doing okay. That's all I can say.
Dude, anything with summoning demons, entities, you know what I'm saying? Anything with that, it's always gonna just end with some bad. It's either one, gonna end with something really bad happening, or you just being like really paranoid, or two, nothing's gonna happen. It's either one or two. But in my opinion, anything with like demons or like entities or negative energies, I would say stay away from.
These are my confessions as a psychic medium, part 4. Everybody speaks in telepathy, even you do. You know, when you're with your best friend or your partner and you're really craving like a coffee or something, and then all of a sudden they walk in the room and they're like, hello, let's go get a coffee. The reason why that happened is because they're picking up on your brain waves or your telepathic messages. Try it more intentionally next time. I promise it'll happen again. So you never met your 2 times great grandmother, but for some reason you have a deep connection with her. Haha, it's probably because you are her. Did you know that trees talk? They actually do talk. Just because they don't speak with a mouth using English doesn't mean that they don't communicate. When you're channeling a spirit, they're actually entering your body. They have to get energy somehow. This also happens when you pray. What do you think that divine light is? You pass the side of a tragic vehicle accident, and every single time your mind is flooded with what happened there. Did you know that the spirit of that person is actually hopping in your brain at that point? Try to make sense of what happened and try to connect with you. Also, another heartwarming fact, your dog was hit by a car. As soon as it happens, their soul will find their way home and back to you. And I want to let you know that 99% of those accidents, the dog or cat never knows what happened to them. Did you know if your home was built before the 1940s? Congratulations, it's probably haunted, probably by an earlier owner. Don't mean haunted in a bad way. They like to come in and check on their home, and they like to check on you. And a lot of times I call those spirits helping spirits. Even kiss your kids goodnight. Your baby that is looking up in the corner of the room at night and giggling at something, that's a spirit. It could be a loved one of yours that's crossed, yes, including loved ones that you never met. It could be a guide, or it just could be a spirit that decided to pop in and say hi. You go to a medium and they tell you that they know your guide's name. 99% of the time, that's absolute poop. Most of your guides were never people, and names are for people, not for infinite beings of knowledge and light. So if you feel the same energy around you all the time, name them. I don't know. Call them Josh. The more you want to have a dream about your loved one, the less likely you are to have them. By wanting something, it means that you have accepted that you cannot have it. So therefore, next time before you go to bed, say, I'm so excited to have this dream about you. I cannot wait till I see you. And let me know how that works. Next time you get a random idea to call your friend or loved one that you haven't spoken to in a long time, reach out to them. They're probably going through some shit, or they just got done talking about you. Let me know what you get. Reason why you want to keep one of your loved one's items, yes, it was theirs, but it's because it resonates with their vibration. And so every time you hold it, you feel them at the same time. Not about the physical item, it's about the harmony and synchronicity you get when you touch it. Lessons are not always easy, and sometimes they suck. And if you don't get it the first time, you will do it again. Maybe not in this life, but in the next life.
And tonight we are hearing from passengers on board a Delta Airlines flight that was diverted to a small island in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean when one of the plane's engines went out. The passengers were then stranded there for roughly 30 hours. Here's ABC's Matt Rivers.
We are so sorry about this whole fiasco.
Tonight, the mid-air scare over the Atlantic Ocean after a passenger jet was forced to make an emergency landing, diverting to an airport in the Azores Islands.
There was crying. You could hear people praying. I messaged my family and told them that we had lost an engine and were headed back for an emergency landing and that I loved them.
Delta Flight 127, leaving Madrid, Spain earlier this week, headed to New York's JFK Airport. Nearly 300 passengers and crew on board. But a third of the way into the flight, some passengers saying they heard a loud boom.
Everyone sort of looked at each other like, did you hear that? What happened?
The aircraft forced to divert, landing safely at the Lajes Airport in the Azores, a chain of small islands in the middle of the ocean. Passengers disembarking, remaining on the island for nearly 30 hours before a new plane arrived to take them to their destination. In a statement, Delta pointing to a mechanical issue with an engine, adding, "We sincerely apologize to our customers for their experience and delay in their travels."
Lindsay, Delta says all passengers were put up in hotels and given meals and that everyone made it here to New York the following day. Lindsay.
What a harrowing trip, Matt. Thank you.
In 2025, there's been a lot of airplane scares, and a lot of people are on edge about going into an aircraft. But I wonder if they're trying to over amplify. I feel that one's kind of a big issue, but I feel like some of the problems that I've heard of for the airplanes, not including the crashes, they're just over amplified, things that probably usually happen. That one's pretty big. Losing an engine is crazy, but it's not necessarily something crazy deadly. But in a moment, it's super scary.
Gravedigger decided to open the casket.
Why did you cut off? In those next few moments, the cockpit voice recorder captured a tense and confused exchange between the pilots. Why did you cut off? One asked, alarm in his voice. I didn't, came the immediate reply. This short but chilling dialogue reveals a moment of sheer disbelief. Neither pilot appeared to understand what had just occurred. Neither had knowingly taken the action that caused both engines to shut down in midair, just seconds into the flight. The engines wind down. With no fuel flowing, the aircraft's engines began winding down rapidly. The engine speeds. monitored as N1 and N2, dropped sharply. The aircraft, now without thrust, was essentially gliding. But it wasn't designed to glide, especially not this soon after takeoff, and especially not at low altitude. Almost immediately, the aircraft's emergency backup system kicked in. The ram air turbine, a small wind-powered device used to generate emergency hydraulic and electrical power, deployed automatically. This helped maintain minimal control and instrumentation, but couldn't restart the engines or stop the descent. Here comes the desperate attempt to restart. Roughly 5 to 10 seconds after the engines had shut down, the pilots attempted to recover. They moved the fuel control switches back to run, trying to restore power. There was a flicker of hope. Engine 1 began showing early signs of recovery, but Engine 2 remained lifeless. The aircraft, however, was already in a steep descent. There was not enough altitude, not enough time. Despite frantic efforts to relight the engines and regain control,
yeah, that was them pretty much explaining what happened with the Air India flight, the one where apparently the guy jumped out and survived, one survivor, which is crazy because the plane literally exploded as soon as it landed, in my opinion.
Well, one operator 7731, what's the location of your emergency?
It's someone broke into my car. I was parked at in a garage while I went to a restaurant, but they stole like my computers and everything, but it has a tracker on it. So it's following them because it's on Find My iPhone. They have my computers, and it's really, really important information in there. Like I work with someone who's like of a high status, and I really need the my computer and everything.
1 month before a heart attack, your body gives you signs. Please pay close attention to these signals. They could save your life. I'm a cardiologist, and I've seen up close what a heart attack can do. The saddest part is that in many cases, the body had already given signs. That's why I'm asking you to listen carefully and help share this with everyone you love. Sign number 1, pressure or tightness in the chest. This is the most classic early warning sign. It may feel like a squeezing or fullness, not necessarily painful, and it can come and go. If you're brushing this off as heartburn or stress, don't. It could be your heart struggling to pump. Sign number 2, shortness of breath, even at rest. Your heart and lungs work together. When your heart isn't circulating blood properly, your breathing gets harder, not just during exertion, but even sitting still. Sign number 3, pain in your left arm, jaw, or back. This isn't just any ache, it's specific, radiating discomfort. For many people, this is the only symptom they feel before a heart attack hits. Sign number 4, cold sweat, nausea, or lightheadedness. If you suddenly break out in a sweat, feel queasy, or faint without clear reason, your heart may be sending a distress signal. These symptoms are often brushed off, especially by women, but they can be just as serious as chest pain. And this is exactly why I recommend adding Shilajit to your daily routine. Shilajit naturally supports circulation and blood pressure, and it helps the body produce nitric oxide, the compound responsible for dilating blood vessels and improving oxygen delivery to the brain and heart. It also contains over 80 trace minerals that nourish your cardiovascular system and reduce oxidative stress, 2 major factors in heart attack prevention.
The first time I ever got psychosis. The first time I ever got psychosis when I was 19 years old. It all started when I was going to a The first time I ever got psychosis. The first time I ever got psychosis when I was 19 years old. It all started when I was going to a Tiesto show on New Year's Eve. Before I went to the show, I decided to take a tab of acid. Little did I know this might be the worst decision I've ever made. If you don't know, if you've never had a bad trip before, you should probably not trip again because you're probably going to have a bad experience like you did last time. I was feeling it a little on the car ride over to the concert, but at this point I wasn't at my peak yet. By the time I got into the concert venue, I knew that I was on my peak. I was bugging out the whole time and I thought everyone was plotting on me and everyone was against me. There was a lot of Asians at this rave and I thought that every Asian was mimicking me. I was ripping my jewel, they were ripping their jewel. I was touching my hair, they were touching their hair. But I was just bugging in my head the whole time. It was too much stress for me, so I left the concert. And because it was New Year's Eve, there was a bunch of fireworks going off. Because of the fireworks, they kind of sounded like gunshot, and honestly, I thought I got shot by a gun 20 times. My brain tricked myself that I got shot and I actually felt the pain, looked down at my body, saw the bullets, and saw the blood while I was living in reality. I remember going back into the show and going up to my friends and saying I got shot. I was yelling, "I got shot, guys, I got shot, you need to call 911. I then took off my shirt, saw that there was no bullet wounds, and then instantly felt better. I was bugging out at the concert again and then immediately left the show. I hopped in an Uber home, and by the time I got home, I instantly felt better. Even though this was a scary experience, this was not the psychosis, this was just the start. I ended up flying to Orlando, Florida to go to Universal Studios. During the plane ride, I was with my family and I tried getting off the plane because I thought someone on the plane was trying to bomb the plane. The workers were confused. They were asking my dad what's wrong with him and he had no explanation. The whole time while I was at Universal Studios, I wasn't tripping, but I felt a little off. I think I just felt better at Universal Studios because it's just a happy place and a jolly old place to have a good time. The problem is when I got home. When I got home, the trip instantly came back, and this was my first experience of psychosis. I took no substances and I just started tripping. And by tripping, I mean psychosis. I didn't eat food or sleep for 3 whole days. I remember walking to the kitchen and eating a grape for the first time, and it felt so good. It felt like a juice bursting in my mouth. The grape was my first taste of food and water in 3 days. I was bugging out at this point, and I thought that the TV was talking to me. I thought everyone was out to get me. I was peeking out my window, looking for cars driving by, looking at people driving by, and just thinking, oh my god, I'm in the Truman Show. At this point, I couldn't handle it anymore, so I went to the roof of my house and tried jumping off. Thank God there were cops, and thank God there were medical aides to pull me back and keep me sedated. When they pulled me back, they injected me with this morphine and I knocked out. I woke up in the hospital and then felt better. The trip was over. I never felt psychosis or anything related to psychosis at this point. At the time, I didn't realize it was psychosis, but thinking back on it now, that was my first ever experience of something like psychosis.
Trump is considering changing the name of soccer in the US after FIFA gave him these crazy gifts. FIFA has been going all out trying to cozy up to Trump because they poured millions of dollars into hosting the next World Cup in North America, despite knowing that most Americans do not enjoy watching soccer. They've even given a slew of insane gifts to the Trump administration in an attempt to get his endorsement. It started out with them revealing the official 2025 World Cup trophy at the White House and leaving it on display in the Oval Office. Then they invited Trump to attend the final match, where he was given a first place medal and stood on stage with the champions. Afterwards, Trump asked FIFA when they were going to pick up the trophy, only for them to surprisingly tell him that he could keep it and they'd make a replica to give to the actual winning team. This culminated in an interview where Trump said that he loves what the sport stands for, before claiming that he has the power to change its name in the US from soccer to football.
The whole world calls soccer football, so I don't know why in America specifically they wanted to be different so bad that they got to make their own name for it. And the name doesn't even really make sense. What do you guys think about Trump changing it back to football? Let me know in the comments.
I may not survive the night, so I wanted to make sure that, everyone knows, because I had heard Australia could be like this, but I just never wanted to believe it. I never wanted to take it seriously, but I'm finding out firsthand just how serious it is. I might not make it through because it's meant to be -3 tonight, and all I have to keep me warm is a hope, a dream, this hoodie, and Gary.
These are my confessions as a psychic medium. In the middle of the night sometimes when my husband's asleep and I have to get up to go to the bathroom, I do run as quick as possible to the bathroom because there is a spirit in the corner and they do want to talk to me. Not every spirit shows up to tell you they love you. Sometimes they want to tell you that you sucked in life. You have a dream or a premonition that you're going to expire. 50% of the time, it's because you are going to expire. 50% of the other time, it's because your life that you currently know right now is ending and there's going to be a big change on the way. Just have to wait and see. Not everything is love and light. There is a dark place. Where there is a light place, there is a dark place. Don't go there. If you're getting it on with your partner, significant other, and all of a sudden your dad pops in your brain and your dad's dead, it's because your dad is there while that's going on. He can see you. Cats are still buttholes in the afterlife. Dogs are the purest souls imaginable. If your spouse passes, they will help you find a new spouse or a new significant other. It also depends what vibration they're in. If they're in the middle, they will get very jealous and sometimes grumpy when you get a new partner. If they're in a higher vibrational state, they will help you and guide you to find your new partner. Eventually, the other one will get up there. You know when you're eating your loved one's favorite food and then all of a sudden they pop in your brain? It's because they literally are in your body and they're tasting and feeling that food with you at the same time. That if you get a craving for your loved one's favorite food that's crossed over, it's because they're getting in your body and they want to taste that. The only way they can taste that food is through you. So if you want to taste your dad's favorite Chinese food, go and get it. He's going to be in your body eating it with you.
Late at night, a man went to use the bathroom and noticed a message on the door. Don't look to the right. Unable to resist, he glanced right, only to see another message on the wall. Don't look down. He looked down. On the floor it read, whatever you do, do not look behind you. His curiosity got the better of him. He turned around, but nothing was there. He muttered, weird, what a dumb prank. After finishing up and washing his hands, he looked up at the mirror, and suddenly froze. Something clicked. He staggered back in terror and ran out of the bathroom, horrified. So what do you think he saw in the mirror, and what terrifying truth had just dawned on him? Late at night, a man was on his phone until very late. Feeling drowsy, he placed it beside his pillow and fell asleep. In the middle of the night, he woke up thirsty. Groggily, he grabbed his phone to check the time, locked the screen, and rushed to the living room to gulp down water. Not long after, he returned to bed. Still wide awake, he decided to scroll on his phone again. But when he unlocked it, he saw this message. iPhone disabled. Too many failed password attempts. A chill ran down his spine, and he bolted out of the bedroom in terror.
For the first one, I'm not really too sure what that could be, but for the second one, it's definitely because someone was in that house trying to get into his phone. So he has like a stalker in the house with him. That's kind of scary.
In Texas, a black guy bought a cow costume online and snuck into a local milking contest, just to experience the legendary milking skills of the pros. One of the expert milkers tried with all his strength and managed to get just a little bit of yellowish milk. Confused, he stepped aside, only to be mocked by others for his poor technique. Then 13 more master milkers took turns trying, and all of them got only tiny amounts as well. Finally, one of them tasted the milk and realized something was very wrong. Turns out, the guy wasn't a cow, and he was arrested for fraud. Late at night, a man was on a date with his girlfriend by the river. Out of nowhere, he said, "Out with the old, in with the new," and pushed her into the river, then quickly ran off. Fortunately, an elderly man nearby witnessed the whole thing. Without hesitation, he jumped into the river. With 2.5 years of swimming experience, he managed to save the girl. But here's where it gets absurd. Instead of applauding the old man, bystanders began laughing at him and even stared at him like he was some kind of pervert. Confused, the old man noticed something strange. No matter how much he shook her, the girl didn't respond. So he leaned in closer to check, and in that moment, his face turned bright red. One act of bravery, and he became socially anxious for life.
Here are some spiritual signs you should never ignore. Number 1, if you're about to leave your house and you keep forgetting stuff or dropping things, pause. Sit down for a bit. Wait before you leave. This is your spirit trying to protect you. It's more than likely slowing you down so you don't leave at the wrong time. This could be protection from an accident or even keeping you on time for what the day holds. Number 2, if you're talking to someone and you suddenly feel a weird feeling or you forget what you're saying, stop sharing. This is a sign that you're talking to the wrong person. Change the subject so you can protect your energy. Number 3, if you have plants in your home and they suddenly die out of nowhere, that plant took negative energy that was meant for you. Think about the last person you had inside your home. They might not have had the best intentions for you. Same with protection jewelry. If it breaks, same concept. And last, never let anyone touch your hair. Your hair is your crown. It protects your energy. A person with bad intentions can put negative energy on you. Protect yourself. Your spirit's always talking to you. Listen to your intuition. Love you guys. Peace out.
On autopilot?
Autopilot, yeah.
So what?
Yeah.
So what happens if I don't put my phone on airplane mode?
They say basically that due to the signal it can sort of like, you know, interfere with the aircraft systems. So that's why you gotta have it.
Chat, make sure to put your phone on airplane mode.
Yeah, well, you're in there.
While drinking at a friend's house, the friend suddenly suggested they come up with a code phrase, just in case something dangerous ever happened. The man agreed and asked, what should the code be? The friend thought for a moment and said, let's go with tonight we hunt tigers. They both laughed it off. Later that night, after returning home drunk, the man had just laid down when he received a message from his friend. It was the code, mixed with strange scrambled symbols. Immediately sensing something was wrong, he rushed back to his friend's place. The door was half open, the lights inside were dim. Nervous, he picked up a baseball bat by the entrance, just in case. He pushed the door open and saw his friend collapsed on the floor. Panicked, he looked down and realized the bat in his hand was covered in blood. In that moment, police sirens wailed outside, and he broke down completely. Now tell me, why did he panic at that exact moment? Can you figure out what really happened?
I mean, if I see my friend on the ground like that and had a bloody baseball bat, like, obviously I would freak out too.
This is how Biggie Smalls died. Christopher Wallace, better known as Biggie or the Notorious Big, was one of the fathers of East Coast hip-hop in the 90s. His debut album, Ready to Die, blew up, and his flow, his storytelling, and raw honesty made him the king. But while his career skyrocketed, tension was building behind the scenes. The East Coast versus West Coast beef was boiling, and after Tupac's murder in '96, things felt even more dangerous. Still, Biggie kept pushing. In March 1997, he flew out to New York to promote his second album, Life After Death. Then came March 9th. Biggie left a party late at night, around 1 a.m. He got into his black Chevy Suburban and pulled up at a red light on Wilshire Boulevard. A black Chevy Impala slowly pulled up beside him, rolled the window down, and fired 4 shots. Biggie was hit twice and rushed to the hospital, but he was pronounced dead just 30 minutes later. He was only 24 years old. What makes this case even more brutal is that no one was ever arrested for his murder, and the police didn't even investigate it. They just called it gang violence and left it at that.
Paranormal investigator Dan Rivera has just been found dead in his hotel room while he was on tour with the Annabelle doll as its primary caretaker. Now, this information is according to the organization hosting the doll's tour across America, and they posted online that Dan suddenly died while at an event with the doll this past weekend. Dispatch records show that firefighters and medics rushed to his hotel on Sunday night where they performed CPR, but the cause of death has not been disclosed. Dan was only 54 years old and was the lead investigator for the New England Society for Psychic Research. Annabelle will continue traveling throughout the US for the next few months.
17-year-old boy was placed inside a torpedo and fired at an enemy ship like a live bullet. You see, the Japanese selected miniature cadets so they could fit into the cabin along with a ton of explosives. And once inside, these boys guided the torpedo themselves, swimming straight toward the target to explode along with their enemy like kamikaze.
Alzheimer's disease doesn't start in your 40s and 50s, it starts in your 20s and 30s. And here are the warning signs. You're going to want to save this video. I'm going to teach you what those warning signs are, and at the end of this video, I'll show you a test your doctor should be doing to see if you're on this path. Here are the warning signs. If you walk into a room and you forget why you're there, if you're starting to get blurred vision or eye floaters, if you're frequently running to the bathroom, this is because your body is trying to get rid of all the sugar. And because of the frequent urination, your body is frequently thirsty. If you have slow healing wounds, or if you have extreme fatigue, they are now calling Alzheimer's disease type 3 diabetes. And they found that insulin resistance is an important factor in the development of Alzheimer's disease. And 80% of people with insulin resistance don't even realize that they have it. So at your doctor's, you're going to get a fasting insulin test, and you want those numbers between 2 and 5. And if you have insulin resistance, go check out my pinned videos on how I reversed my insulin resistance.
Make your first choice.
I feel like it's probably better to be closer to the ground. I'm gonna pick 4-9.
Okay. Next decision.
Alright, you know what? I'm gonna just pick the safe option on this one. Might as well add high definition. I don't see why I wouldn't.
Next decision.
Choose your occupation. Was that like a rap name or something? Alright, let's see what they got. Oh yeah, I'm picking that. Yeah, indentured servant? Yo, that sounds crazy. I feel like I'm gonna be going hard. Yeah, I'm gonna be going hard with a name like that. Little indentured servant. Ooh, that sounds hard. Man, I'm gonna have a great life. What's next?
Alright, that was the last choice.
Let's go, I'm ready.
You know what? I can honestly say that this was probably the worst life that anyone has ever chosen. Like, How? God, your life is going to suck.
How? My life is in ADHD.
I mean, you might as well have skipped life and went straight to hell. I mean,
no, hell.
Wow.
You just sat there and let me pick all this shit. Let me redo that. Give me some more fucking context this time.
Well, that's the end of this. Erasing your memories of this and sending you there.
No, you motherfucker!
Why are honey badgers one of the most feared creatures in the entire animal kingdom, where even lions, snakes, and elephants don't even try bothering it? First off, honey badgers are extremely aggressive, where no matter what size you are, they will challenge you. Known to have an extremely strong bite force, targeting your most vulnerable areas, like your eyes, throat, or even your balls. But it doesn't stop there, as honey badgers are pretty much mini tanks, doing things like fighting deadly snakes, passing out from the venom, then waking up to finish the job, ignoring pain and injuries, constantly fighting no matter what, or taking on multiple animals by itself. And even if you were to get a good bite off on a honey badger, they have extremely loose skin and will twist inside of their own body just to bite your face. So if you do somehow kill a honey badger, there's still no doubt it'll leave you mangled for life.
I've never seen a boat chase in my life. Yo, those people that were still in the water while that was going on, they're brave. Because I'm thinking, like, what if this dude starts coming over to me? Like, I'm saying, I don't want to get hit by that.
So this woman kills her whole family with mushrooms. How's that for an opening? Now, the woman's name is Erin, and Erin's about 48 during this time, living in Australia, and Erin has a problem. She and her ex-husband are fighting a lot. Now, her ex-husband is this guy, Simon. And I guess she and Simon are separated, but they never officially got divorced. I'm not sure what that's all about, but it sounds like they're in the middle of what is about to be a divorce. Anyway, at some point, Erin and Simon start fighting all the time over finances, over child support, and stuff like that. She's hitting him up like, "You're a deadbeat, you're not doing enough for the kids." And of course, he's like, "I've been helping these kids for years, fuck you." Plus, Erin feels like it's not just Simon who's being a jerk, it's also his whole side of the family, specifically his parents. She feels like they, especially, are always taking Simon's side instead of doing what's right for her and the kids. And so at this point, Erin has had enough, and she decides it's time to get rid of Simon for good. Not only that, but she also wants to take out his whole family. So in 2023, she comes up with an insane plan that she's pretty sure will work. She's gonna unalive her ex-husband and his parents. She plans to go out and find some poisonous mushrooms growing in the wild, and then cook them up and slip them into ex-husband's food. And so she starts looking online at this plant database website to see if anyone has spotted any poisonous mushrooms in her area. I guess people post sightings on this site to warn mushroom foragers to stay away so that they don't accidentally pick them and get poisoned. So she goes on this website and she basically hits the jackpot. Like, she learns that there are 2 nearby towns where people have spotted death cap mushrooms. Death cap mushrooms are like super poisonous mushrooms. Most of the fatal mushroom poisonings in the world are from death caps. So Erin goes out to these spots the website told her about, and she collects as many of these death caps as she can. She also goes out and buys a dehydrator, which she needs to dehydrate the mushrooms. Once she gets home, she dehydrates them and she crushes them into powder, and she gets ready to hide them in the beef Wellington she's making. And once everything is ready to go, Erin invites Simon over for lunch, and his parents, and his aunt and uncle too, because I guess she hates them as well. And when they ask why she's inviting them over for lunch, she's like, "I got a medical issue and I want to discuss whether or not to tell the kids about it." And of course, everyone's thinking, "Oh, a medical issue? She probably has cancer or something." So of course they're gonna be there. And so on that morning, on the day of the lunch, Erin makes all the food and she puts the poison mushroom powder into the mushroom paste that's on the beef Wellington and into the mushroom gravy that she makes. But Erin is careful to make a separate set of mushrooms for her food that, don't have poison in them. And when it's finally lunchtime, Simon's parents and his aunt and uncle show up to Erin's house. But Simon actually doesn't. I guess the day before he cancels because, Erin's been an asshole to him lately. But everyone else does show up. Now, keep in mind, she originally wanted to take Simon out, her ex-husband, but since he didn't show, I guess she's like, well, I'll just kill his whole family instead. So they all sit down at the table, and Erin brings over 4 gray plates with beef Wellington. She then puts her own food on an orange plate so that she doesn't screw up and accidentally poison herself. So they all eat and they're chatting, and near the end of the meal, Erin announces to them all that she has cancer. Which she 100% does not have, but I guess she told them on the phone that she had something important to tell them, and I guess she has to keep the lie going. Even though they're all about to be dead. Erin is just shameless. Regardless, all the guests think it's real, and they all feel really bad for her, and everyone starts giving her advice on how to break the news to the kids and stuff like that. Anyway, eventually lunch is over and everyone leaves and goes home. Later that night, those mushrooms start kicking in, because I guess they take 6 to 12 hours to start working. And Simon's family is all at their homes and they all start getting sick. And they're like throwing up all night. In fact, they're throwing up so much that in the morning, they go to the hospital for treatment. And Erin learns that they all got sick and went to the hospital, and she wants to cover up her tracks. I mean, she can't be the only one who didn't get poisoned. That would look suspicious. So 2 days later, she also goes to the hospital, and she's like, I'm feeling sick too. Meanwhile, the condition of Simon's family keeps getting worse. They're still vomiting, they have diarrhea, they're severely dehydrated, and then their organs start failing, which is a really bad sign. So they all get a bunch of treatments, including one of them who receives an emergency liver transplant, which is just wild. But despite all that treatment, within a week, unfortunately, Simon's mom, dad, and aunt, all three of them, pass away in the hospital. While Simon's uncle, he's actually still alive. I mean, he's still poisoned, but he falls into a coma. And he spends weeks in the hospital in a coma, but he is eventually able to pull through. So he does survive. Meanwhile, Erin is out here talking to the news media for some reason, and she pretends to be sad about the whole thing.
It's a tragedy what's happened. With some of the best people I've ever met, they never did anything wrong to me, and I'm so devastated about what's happened.
Can you tell us a bit more about the lunch?
What I can tell you is that I just can't fathom what has happened. That Ian and Heather have lost their lives, and Gail has lost her life, and Donna's still in hospital, and I pray that he pulls through. Just can't believe it.
Can you tell us where the mushrooms came from?
Not a bad performance, I guess. And she's still actively trying to cover her tracks. Like she goes to a local trash dump and disposes of the food dehydrator she used to dry out the mushrooms, because, that's evidence. Plus, she starts wiping data off her phone by factory resetting it multiple times. She also apparently has multiple burner phones for some reason, and she throws those away because those are also evidence. And why do you need a burner phone to poison someone with mushrooms? This woman is just weird. And so anyway, because doctors suspect all these deaths were maybe by poisonous death cat mushrooms, they report all of this to the police. And so police start investigating all this. And pretty quickly, the police, they talk to Erin, and they ask her, where did you get those mushrooms? They're poisonous. And she says, I bought them at the Asian supermarket. But, that's bullshit, and none of her story is adding up. And as they keep investigating, they're able to interview Simon's uncle and get a lot of information out of him because, he survived. And they get information like she had the only orange plate and how she told them all she had cancer and all that stuff. Anyway, and so police eventually gather enough evidence, and so, bam, Erin is arrested. And I don't have her mugshot, but here is a picture of her fake crying.
This morning, police arrested Erin Patterson, the woman who cooked the beef Wellington at the centre of the case.
And so she goes to trial, and she was just found guilty of all of this a few days ago. And since this just happened, she actually hasn't been sentenced yet, but she faces life in prison.
I wonder if she thought that she would have got caught, because it's obviously when they do the autopsy, they would see what was in their body and the reason why they died like that.
So there's this TikToker, his name's Rich B, which you can honestly just search him up on TikTok, go watch his series, but this guy pretty much is I don't know if you just discovered a real vampire, because a lot of people say in New Orleans, I think in the NOLA area, I believe, that's where there's a lot of vampires. And to be honest with you guys, I feel like there is a lot of stuff out there that is real. We see the movies, we see all this fiction, books and stuff about certain creatures, right? Vampires, mermaid sirens and stuff like that, skinwalkers and all that. But I feel like there's a good amount of stuff out there that's actually real. And pretty much what Rich B did was they gave him an address I think somewhere in Croatia. I think Italy or Croatia. Correct me in the comments, but yeah, he pretty much pulled up to this store that it belongs to this vampire. He's saying that like, oh yeah, this vampire owns this store, and he pulls up to it and he kind of shows like the windows. It's during the daytime and the store's closed, so we're kind of like, okay. And he kind of like points the camera through the windows, and you see all these like relics, right? These like everything inside there looks like it would belong to a vampire, or it definitely looked like it'd be like a vampire store, hands down, right? So this guy kind of just shows the store. He kind of explains it a little bit, like the kind of the backstory about it, how he had like some buddy gave him this address, so he went to go check it out, right? And then apparently he kind of found out where the actual vampire lives, right? And this guy pulled up to the actual place, the door, the wooden door, and he showed it, and it almost looked like if it's kind of like gated on the inside. It's not more to like keep people out, it's more like to keep whatever's inside going outside, if that makes sense, right? It's pretty much just to keep whatever's living in there inside. And this guy, pretty much what he does, he's like, all right guys, I'm gonna knock, and then he pretty much fast forwards, kind of cuts the clip, and then he resumes it, and you can see in his face, either he's a really good fucking actor, or this guy literally saw something, saw something that's like, you know, like shocking, like something that out of this world, because his eyes were watery. You can tell he was like kind of like in a panic mode. He was a little bit worried, like you can just tell, right? And I've been watching this guy's videos for some time now, and I'm kind of like, damn, I don't think he was really acting. And eventually, I guess he got like a note or something, pretty much saying that like, hey, you know, you better back off or something bad's gonna happen, right? And apparently this person, they knew everything about him, right? As in like, I think like the room they were staying in, a whole bunch of stuff. And pretty much what the vibes we got from it was kind of more like, just leave me alone, mind your own business, you know, if not, there's gonna be some consequences, right? And it just makes me think like, wow, that's crazy. Like what? Okay, at the end of the day, maybe it could just be all kind of fake, right? But nah, I don't know, man. You guys gotta go check it out, man. Rich B, search up Rich B on TikTok and go watch his series, a vampire series, and let me know what you guys think. But I think like, damn, you know what, maybe he did come across some stuff that he wasn't supposed to, and the fact that he blasted it out there on social media is a little bit like, you know. But pretty much what I got is that, man, these vampires, man, these people, we just gotta leave them alone, you know. Let them be. Who knows? I mean, if they are real, that's crazy, right? I got another story too, because I got a buddy that actually lives in the Caribbean, and he would tell me all the time, like, bro, middle of the night, you'd go out to the ocean, you hear stuff, and it's not no fish, it's nothing, it's you hear sirens, you hear mermaids, right? Like, crazy.
I personally didn't see the video he's talking about, but I'm gonna try to put it in like right now and see.
So this is the alleyway that Senora M told me to go. I guess this is an alleyway, I don't know what you'd call this. And this is in Florence. And he gave me not an exact address, but it was the third door. He said the second wooden door. And so that would be this one. There's a camera there. So, here we go. Yeah, I'm kind of done with this storyline moving forward, so it has been fun, but we're done.
Companies that make really low-calorie food alternatives will be like, here's a full pint of ice cream. The whole thing is 140 calories. And I'll be like, huh? And I'll taste it, and it's so good. And I'll look at the nutrition facts, like 38 grams of fat, 120 grams of carbs, 4 grams of protein. And I'll do the quick math in my head. I'm like, that's 700, 800 calories. And so I'll look it up, and the company will say somewhere like, oh, our main ingredient is the plaque psoriasis GT4 dextrose. And that ingredient like can't be absorbed by the human body. And that's what gives it its texture and flavor and sugar, and it's 0 calories. And I'm like, what? Like, who approved this?
Literally, that's like the Halo Top ice cream. I don't know if you guys have ever had Halo Top. It tastes really good, but it's only like 300 calories per pint, which is crazy.
Morbid Facts, Part 629. Hulk Hogan was once a towering 6'7", but has lost up to 5 inches of his height due to his back being fused together after decades of punishing his body in the wrestling ring. Over the past decade alone, he's undergone at least 25 surgeries, including 10 on his back, as well as replacements of both knees and hips, and operations on his shoulders and neck. Accordingly, Hogan has described feeling like a human medical experiment and now suffers from brutal chronic pain. About 10,000 Facebook users die every day. It's estimated that by the year 2070, the number of dead profiles will outnumber the living ones, and Facebook will become a digital graveyard. Reclusive siblings Homer and Langley Collier lived in a Harlem townhouse and became notorious for their extreme hoarding. After Homer went blind in the 1930s, Langley quit his job to care for him and began compulsively collecting newspapers and junk, believing that Homer would one day get his sight back and need to catch up on the news. They booby-trapped their home with tunnels of debris to keep people out, eventually withdrawing completely from society. In March of 1947, police discovered Homer's body dead from starvation. Langley had died before him, but wasn't found until weeks later due to all the junk in the home. He'd been crushed to death by one of his own traps while trying to bring food to his brother.
There's a conspiracy theory that claims that we're already dead, and the evidence comes from science. There are two things that are documented to happen when someone clinically dies. The first is that your entire life will flash before your eyes, and the second is that your brain keeps working 7 minutes after your body is gone. And we've literally recorded the brain still firing after death, actively creating memories. So for 7 minutes, we're in this dreamlike state where we're reliving our entire life. And according to this guy you may have heard of, Albert Einstein, time is relative. But what does that actually mean? This is suggesting that 7 minutes in the real world could feel like 100 years in the dream state. Kind of like when you fall asleep, you dream an entire movie, then wake up 5 minutes later. Now here's where it gets weird. Some people believe that we all died in 2012. That's when the Mayan calendar predicted the end of the world. And remember, this is all just for fun, and this is just a conspiracy theory. This theory suggests that instead of an apocalypse, we collectively slipped into this 7-minute brain echo. And this right here, right now, is our dream. This is us reliving our memories. And little time glitches, little weird things like the Mandela effects, or like deja vu, or feeling like the world is off, those are just cracks in the memory trying to keep itself stitched together. So this theory is saying that that would mean that the world did end and we just haven't accepted it yet. Do you think we're 7 minutes into the afterlife? You can come over here for longer freaky videos.
I don't know, they're always saying that the world ended in 2012, but at the same time, I feel like the calendars are off. Am I wrong? I don't know. I've heard that our calendars have been wrong for the longest time. Like apparently July and August weren't supposed to actually be a month, and they were named after I think some type of Roman Empire, like Julius Caesar was for July, I think. But I've learned that our calendar right now isn't necessarily the right calendar, if that makes sense.
Morbid Facts, Part 106. In 2010, Ozzy Osbourne had his genome sequenced to understand how it was possible for him to still be alive after so many years of abusing his body. Researchers found mutations related to addiction, metabolism, and Ozzy's Neanderthal ancestors. In fact, he carries several 100,000 genetic variants that have never been seen before by scientists. Meaning if he wasn't a literal mutant, he likely would have died decades ago. In 1974, there were likely over 100 active serial killers in the United States, including Ted Bundy, John Wayne Gacy, and Dennis Rader. As of right now, there's still estimated to be anywhere between 25 and 50 active serial killers in the US. In an effort to enforce prohibition in the 1920s, the government began adding poison to industrial alcohol to prevent people from drinking it. Supporters of the policy argued that people were basically killing themselves by breaking the law, so they deserved to die. Up to 50,000 people were killed as a result of the government's extreme enforcement.
This has gotta be one of the craziest videos from the earthquake so far. So doctors in Russia were seen continuing their surgery as the hospital is being rocked by one of the most powerful earthquakes in recorded history, the 6th most. But they didn't panic. They didn't run out the room and try and save themselves. Rather, they remained calm, they finished their surgery, and stayed with the patient until the very end. In fact, the health ministry even posted after showing that the surgery was successful and the patient is recovering well. God.
He said that was one of the most powerful earthquakes they've experienced. How did the building not fall? I feel like with earthquakes, buildings tend to just crumble. I mean, maybe there's certain types of buildings that can withstand earthquakes, but that the earthquake either one wasn't that powerful or that building was like made out of like titanium or something.
Let's talk about one of the creepiest videos that are on the internet right now. The Mano video. You guys will not stop sending me this, so let's talk about it. On July 6th, 2025, user Victor Choque77 would upload a video that would terrify its viewers. As in the video that now stands at almost 7 million views, you'd see Victor driving and doing this. Yeah, that's pretty crazy, right? People in the comments would then ask if that's a real hand. I have chills, I'm a little bit scared. Some people doing some crazy theories, like this person said, looking through his videos, he's either on an unaliving spree or he unalived his wife and that's her hand. That's kind of crazy. But listen guys, I did a little bit of a deep dive, and aside from this guy publicly just stating that he wants to be in a nice relationship, I think he's in one now, I'm not sure. I think that's a fake hand. Let's think about it, right? Like, it would be rotting at this point, right? I'm pretty sure that's like a mano que agarras para hacerte las uñas, you know, and to like practice. He installed it on his truck. Now, is that in itself creepy? Yeah, I think so. That looks horrifying. Do I think this is real? No. But do I think this is creepy? Yeah, I do think this is creepy. What do you guys think? Is this real? Is this fake? Is he just goofing on us, or are we about to be on a documentary? I hope not. Let me know.
Yeah, I saw that video last night and I was like, yeah, that's definitely a fake hand. And she made a good point, because if it was a real hand, it would be rotting and it would not look like that.
These are my confessions as a psychic medium, part 6. Somebody came to your grave and broke out your stained glass window. You would absolutely know that that happened, and that person would probably not have great karma coming up. Not all cemeteries are haunted, but every cemetery has spirits. See, a lot of the graves, especially in older cemeteries, nobody they know and loved exists anymore. So let's say when you go and visit one from the 1850s, you start focusing on the memorial, the reason why they end up showing up is because you're connecting with them, because that's the last place they exist in this entire world. Now, are some spirits just roaming the cemetery? Absolutely, and this is because they passed tragically or they took their own life. And so essentially when you show up, they want to connect with you. That way they can find their light and move on to the higher vibrational state, or heaven. Heaven actually exists. There is a very dark place, people like to call it HE double hockey sticks, and there's absolutely a middle area, or what some people call purgatory, but it's not necessarily like that. It's more here. And in fact, the more I learn about it from how spirits talk about it, it's exactly what our area looks like, except it's just wax color. The reason why you got those goosebumps on your left hand side of your body when you started thinking about your family member is because they were actually right there touching you. Goosebumps are spirit touches. The spirit is trying to connect with you. It's going to come across really in 2 ways. One, you're either going to start to get a lot of signs, symbols, feelings, and emotions, and you won't know what that means. It's because you haven't learned the language of spirit. The other way is that you're going to actually hear them in one of your ears. It almost sounds like somebody put a Bose headset in one of your ears, and you can hear it audibly. All you got to do is just say hi, see if you get any more messages. If you lost a child tragically, as soon as your child passes, they will come back home with you. And if you are a person that hasn't cleaned out their room, know that they still play in it. You sit in there with them. They are there with you. That's why you get goosebumps. They have moved on to the light though. Kids always move on to the light. We seem to only see spirits or experience spirits in the dark. It's because during the day, there's too many things going on. And so when it's nighttime, it's hushed. And so we're able to connect better. And also remember, 99% of the time, spirits are more afraid of you than you are afraid of them. The only way that they can connect with you is that if you are vibing at the exact same frequency. So like channel on a radio station. So if they show up and you start to get scared, you're gonna automatically make that channel disappear and they can't connect. Alcohol is absolutely terrible for you. Not only is it terrible for your body, but it also puts you in a lower vibrational state so that you become your emotions. So I want to remind you, it's called spirits for a reason. Anybody can be a medium. In fact, we're all mediums. We're all antennas walking around and we all talk to spirit. Don't let anybody gatekeep you and say, oh, certain people can be psychic mediums. They're lying, they're jealous, and all you have to do is learn the language. It can teach you.
If you haven't heard of the disturbing story of these dark web shoes, you have no idea what you're about to get into. Because this guy was f***ing around with the dark web and he found out the hardest way possible. His name is Shiloh and he frequently explores the dark web, showcasing the most interesting or just emotionally scarring things he finds on there. When he came across a site that sells shoes, and right away there seemed to be something very off about it. To start, the shoes being sold were all used, tattered, and covered in blood. And they're all named after regular people and even have an age associated with each pair, which at first kind of seems like it might might be, you know, the worst thing possible, similar to those Wayfair rumors that were going around a few years ago, where the online furniture company Wayfair was selling furniture that also had regular human-sounding names, and were being sold for tens of thousands of dollars. Like, who in their right mind would buy this IKEA-looking-at dresser for 20 grand? Online investigators linked the names of the furniture to cases of missing little ones, sparking the rumors that this was... yeah, that. Now, thankfully, these shoes were being sold for a much more modest $100 to $200, so it does seem a bit more legit. The site is called The Shoeman, and Shiloh decides to order a pair, which sends him down a rabbit hole that he definitely regretted. He buys these boots, called the Whalen, age 29, absolutely stained in what looks like blood. At checkout, it asks him for his name, birthday, and this strange field called rental length, which he just puts at 1 year. He confirms the order, the shoes get shipped, and surprisingly actually arrive in the mail a few days later. Don't worry, he definitely used the P.O. box. He unboxes the package and the boots are there, exactly how they look like on the site, red stains and all. And this is about where things take a turn to the absolute worst a dark web shopper could imagine. Cause as he's inspecting one of the boots, a VHS tape unexpectedly slides out from it. A VHS tape from the dark web is just about the worst combination anyone could ask for. But he doesn't have a VHS player, understandable, who does these days, so he orders one off the internet, like the normal web. In the meantime, he tests the red stains on the shoes to see what they really are, noticing that hydrogen peroxide foams up when he poured it on, which is expected with blood, but false positives are a possibility. So he orders luminol, a liquid commonly used to test for blood, which makes it glow blue under a UV when sprayed on. And it does exactly that. The stains on the shoes are in fact real blood, confirmed. The VHS player comes in so he can finally watch that mysterious tape. It's over an hour long and plays a bunch of weird shit, a title scene that says The Shoeman, and a series of random clips that don't seem to make much sense. A collection of messages from old movies and commercials compiled together. There's this section of some old movie that's played backwards. He reverses it and it says this.
Oh, the devil knows that. I heard her moving things all around that room all night. Never heard such goings on.
The tape also talks about not losing or destroying the shoes, as they will eventually get collected, which I guess is what that rental length field was for when he bought them. He says there are a couple parts of the tape that are definitely not safe to show on the internet, which you could only imagine what that might be. But it also has sections called submission slots, where it just shows a name and a submission. And these slots are filled with other people wearing the shoes they ordered, but are also not moving and, according to him, sometimes disfigured. Basically, everyone who orders a pair of shoes gets a copy of the tape, and they need to add their own part to it, showing the shoes. Shiloh sees a submission slot with his name in it, so he's expected to record his own part for the tape. But the thing is, your submission could also get rejected for whatever reason, and the names of the rejected submissions were also the names of the shoes on the site. Submit or be submitted, as it says periodically throughout the video. Meaning, if you don't add to the tape, or if your submission gets rejected, you get submitted by the shoeman, who will add you to the tape himself. He checks the shoeman dark website again and finds out the entire marketplace has been taken down, but somehow it just keeps getting worse. The next day, he notices the heel on one of the boots is hollow. He cuts it open to find a blinking tracker inside, a GPS device with a SIM card that stopped blinking 5 minutes after he took it out. He goes on to buy a burner phone to test the SIM card in the tracker, and he gets service. The SIM card is active. So he investigates the actual tracker device using a USB converter to plug it into his computer, which lets him see the code the device was running and confirms that it was in fact sending his location to some phone number that he can now see. He assumes this is the number of the one who planted it, possibly the shoeman himself. He calls the number using his burner phone and he gets this voicemail.
I know who you are. I know what you did. And if you found this number,
sounds hella seductive.
must be paid.
Shiloh sends him a voice message back, and the next day the original voicemail changes to a completely different voice, claiming they are now trying to contact him specifically. So he texts the number asking what they want, and he gets a reply saying that he knows who Shiloh is. He's seen his videos online, which have been getting a lot of attention, that the tracker is his and that he's on Shiloh's side, letting him know to not trust the shoeman. Then continues to say that more will be on the way, and that he usually doesn't wait this long to make the rules known, that the effects have already started to show. show. A bunch of creepy, cryptic messages with little context. Turns out, this guy seems to be someone who rented these shoes previously and installed the tracker to track down the shoeman. But Shiloh's worried that it may actually just be the shoeman messing with him. A few days later, he gets a surprise package to his P.O. box that he never ordered, and it's another pair of shoes that appeared to be damp. Now, this pair also has a VHS tape inside one shoe and a cell phone in the other. The cell phone only has one number in it. He calls it, and the burner phone that he's been texting that guy with rings, meaning this is the phone he's been texting with that the guy now sent to him. At this point, he looks understandably very disturbed, claiming he's got to end this series before something really bad happens. As of now, his last video on the topic is him explaining that he needs to stop posting about this, that he can't explain why, but it's for a good reason. Whether this was all for show, a creepypasta ARG as they're called, or completely real, who knows, but everyone keep an eye on Shiloh and pray for his safety.
So science can't explain why up to 20% of people have an outer body experience, where they feel like they're floating above their body and they're able to visit different places. This sounds completely woo-woo, but in the next minute, I'll explain the science behind it. So an outer body experience are moments when people feel like their consciousness exists outside of their physical body, and it feels very real. A recent review article looked at all of the research on OBEs and found something quite interesting. Because everyone's experience is very unique, they did, however, identify some universal themes. OBEs can happen during deep relaxation, sleep, meditation, near-death experiences, childbirth, drugs like ketamine, and even in certain neurological conditions like epilepsy. And people generally had a long-term transformative effect from this experience, where they had less fear of death, more empathy towards other people, altered worldviews, and greater life satisfaction. Key takeaway here is that OBEs are not another weird phenomenon. It's actually very common, and it can be deeply healing and transformative for people who go through it. And by removing the stigma of being labeled crazy, we can use these experiences to help healthcare practitioners, researchers, and patients to heal and thrive.
There are vans driving around your city right now that can literally see through your walls and no one told you. They're called Backscatter vans, and yes, they're real. These unmarked police vehicles are equipped with mobile X-ray scanners that can see through buildings, car doors, and even into your home from the street. You won't hear them, you won't know they're there, and they don't need a warrant. This isn't science fiction. These vans have been used in major cities like New York, Miami, and Los Angeles. The technology was originally designed for the military to detect explosives overseas. Now it's being used here on civilians with almost zero oversight. The vans fire bursts of ionizing radiation, the same kind used in TSA body scanners. But this radiation is mobile, more focused, and aimed straight through solid objects. No law requires police to inform the public. No study confirms it's safe. And there's no limit on who or what they scan. Privacy groups have warned for years this is warrantless surveillance on wheels. Your car, your home, your body, all exposed to invisible scans without your consent. And if it's already here, what's coming next?
That is actually insane. I only would imagine that it would be safe because he literally said that it's the same technology that they use when you go through TSA. So I don't think it would genuinely hurt people, and they've been probably using it in the military for a very long time. But in terms of like privacy, yeah, that's gone through the window. I feel like America's privacy has been gone through the window, if I'm being honest.
There might be an actual serial ender on this app right now. So recently, this account called The Hunger Killer has been posting some very disturbing videos. In one of these videos, they show off their basement where you can see what appears to be someone's jeans on the table right there. And in another video, they show what appears to be multiple graves in what I assume is their backyard. And according to people in the comments, there's actually more stuff that just isn't there anymore, such as them showing off an unalived person on their story. And they also apparently had multiple videos that have since been taken down. Now, I haven't seen these videos that have been taken down, so I don't know what exactly was on them, but if anybody has them, please send them over to me. Now, as for the reason that people think the Hunger Killer is like posting all this, apparently people think the Hunger Killer might eat other people. A lot of other people also think that the Hunger Killer is just posting to brag about their victims and to sort of gain notoriety, which does make sense, but I think the most plausible thing is it's probably just fake. I mean, someone probably just went out into their backyard and dug all these holes to make a creepy looking video. And if that is the case, I must say they succeeded, and they might actually have one of the creepiest basements of all time. But the fact that they posted someone who was unalived on their story definitely does make it seem a little more real. But what do you guys think of this?
Well, I just watched a video of that girl saying that everything's been so crazy because there's a time traveler who keeps going back to 2020 to try to fix things, make shit right, but he keeps fucking it up. Listen, I know y'all think I believe everything, but here's why I believe that. Because y'all don't remember this time last year, maybe a year and a half ago, that time traveler that was caught at the Airbnb in that shed on that guy with the Airbnb host ring camera. Bro, whatever you believe, okay? He went in, he was in his 20s, he came out, he was in his 50s, 60s. We never seen him again. You gotta be kidding. He's still out here. He's still out here. It was the same guy, the same shaped forehead, the same glasses. He looked at the camera. It's the same guy. He's still out here trying to make changes. That's where we're getting all these Mandela effects from. Didn't they look him up too, and they found his name, and they found that he was involved in like quantum physics and astrophysics? Bro, you can't make it up. That's him. He's still out here.
I forgot what video, but I think it was like a video I made like 2 months ago where we actually looked at that. Where the dude went into the shed completely looking normal, young, and then he came out of it like a couple days later, like looking older. It was kind of strange, but.
So the Pentagon actually confirmed for once the video of the pyramid-shaped UFOs caught off the Navy vessel. So you're gonna see, I'm gonna show you the video on here, but it's basically, it's in the night vision, and they released it and it was all over, and I was kind of like, okay, you know, we have a lot of videos, we do, because there was footage from a year ago and then 2 years ago also from a Navy vessel, and that just kind of got buried. But the Pentagon has consistently been going on and on about there's no evidence whatsoever of any of this stuff. We see nothing. There's nothing going on. Everybody shush. So I don't show very many videos, UAP videos. They're all over the place. There have been some really good ones coming up lately, so I am going to put those up because they're pretty intriguing. But this one I found, and I just feel like this is a step in the right direction. The fact that they actually confirmed that this is a real video that they captured. Plus, it looks pretty cool.
Want to get creeped out? Let's talk about the Raven Man ritual. This is essentially a summoning ritual where you are calling upon a dark entity called the Raven Man. You can ask him for knowledge or favors, but of course it comes at a cost. If you ask too much of him, he might call upon you later to return the favor, and whatever he's going to ask you to do, you're not going to like. Also, let me know if you would do a ritual if you're crazy enough, but don't do it, but just tell me if you're crazy enough too. Of course, the raven is an omen of death, but it's also a symbol of wisdom, cleverness, and being deeply aware. This duality reflects the nature of the Raven Man. Oh, and in case you don't know, I do not suggest you do this ritual. I wouldn't do it, okay? I like creepy stories, okay? We understand each other? Because whether you believe in the Raven Man or not, whether you believe in the Midnight Man, whether you believe in the Man in the Fields, okay? I don't care what you believe in. I don't care. I don't care what I believe in. When you invite something into your home, into your space, I don't know what's going to show up. I don't know if it's going to be the Midnight Man or the Man in the Fields or the Raven Man. It could be something worse. It could be something better. I don't know. That's a gamble that I'm not going to take. I'm not much of a gambling girl. Anyways, moving on. Now, there are 2 different ways that you can do this ritual. The first way is alone, and the second way is with 2 other people. But the second way is harder and more dangerous. So first, I'm going to give you a little explanation on the solo mission. You got to do it at night. It should specifically be on a night where it is cloudy or moonless. There cannot be any artificial light. No glow from street lights, electronics, headlights. You got the picture. No glow. And you need to do this in a quiet place where you will not be disturbed. You will need 5 candles, a lighter, or matches if you want to have that cool ritual vibe. Salt, always great for when you're doing anything spiritually risky. A sharp object in which to draw plasma from yourself, a candle snuffer, which is optional, or a wet cloth, something you can put a candle out with other than blowing it out. And you will also need a talisman or an object of protection, something you believe in. That's the most important thing. Step 1, block out all outside light. Draw the curtains and turn off all electrical devices. Number 2, create a circle of salt, but do not get in the circle of salt. This circle of salt is not for you. Sit outside of the circle of salt. facing it. Place 5 candles in front of you. Light the first 4 candles one at a time, and as you light each candle, and here's a little flaw in the ritual that I found, it says light the first 4 candles one at a time and say each part of this incantation, but there's only 3 parts to it, and you're supposed to light 4 candles. So my advice is to light the first candle and then say it with the other 3. I don't know. Anyways, you say, on this dark night, I call on the Raven Man. That's number 1. Appear before me, here and now. That's number 2. And number 3 is, and do my will. Then you're supposed to use something pointy, give your finger a little nick, which this is offering a part of yourself. Not a good idea. I don't know if I made that clear or not. It's not a good idea. Thank you. Anyways, you're going to put some of that plasma on the 5th candle and recite, the flame is my beacon. The plasma is my sacrifice. Sacrifice. Pay attention to that word. No. That means don't do it. And then you're going to light that 5th candle. After you light the 5th candle, the Raven Man will make his presence known. But lucky for you, he's going to be confined to the inner circle of your salt ring. It also says you might be able to see him, but most likely you can't see him, which is great because then you don't know if it's working or not, right? Not good. This is where you get your part of the deal. You can ask him any question. He's going to give you the information. If you need someone to do something for you, he's going to do it for you if you ask him to. But it does specifically say not to disrespect him, which is fair. Don't disrespect anyone. Once he's done everything you've asked him to do, although it does say don't ask him to do too much, okay? Don't be an ungrateful little spoiled brat. Just ask for a few things. Don't be selfish. But anyways, after that, you thank him. You thank him for coming. You thank him for answering. And you thank him for granting your requests. In bold, do not bypass this step. Do not pass go. I don't think you want him to be pissed at you. Now you're going to clean up the salt, but you are not going to dispose of it. Instead, you are going to place it outside of any doors leading to your home. It says to keep the object of protection on you for the next several days and not to go anywhere without it, because if you do, that's when he might come to call on you and ask you for a favor in return. And that is when it's bad news bears. If you are asking the Raven Man questions, his answers might be pretty vague, but they will always be true and they will always be correct. I foresee him being like a classic magic 8-ball that you shake and ask the question to, and it replies, reply hazy, try again, or ask again later, or better not tell you now, can't predict that now, is giving me those vibes. Follow if you want to hear about the 3-person version. Let me know if you're even interested in hearing about the 3-person version. Later, skaters.
This is you. You've just killed someone. Again. This is what, the 5th time this week? Not for money, not for revenge. You do it because something in you decided that other people don't get to live unless you say so. The room is dark. The carpet's stained with so many people's blood that you lost count. You have human heads in the fridge and hands in the freezer, and in the distance you can see police lights coming for you. You're a serial killer. And on paper, that sounds kinda cool, like you're the apex predator. But let me tell you one thing. Being a serial killer is anything but cool. Not all serial killers are the same. They come in all different shapes and sizes. The only common thing they share is that they are all psychopaths. Ted Bundy was one of the most famous serial killers from the years 1974 to 1978. He has 30-plus confirmed kills, but it's rumored that that number could be as high as 100-plus. His weapons of choice were a crowbar, and he used blunt trauma, or strangulation usually, to end his victims' lives. See, unlike you, Ted Bundy was a so-called good-looking guy, so his main victims were women, and he didn't have any problems getting them. His main move was pretending to be injured. Maybe his arm was in a sling or something, then asking women for help. When they leaned in, boom! Crowbar to the head. Then he dragged them into his car. Some victims were assaulted, others decapitated, and he even kept some heads as souvenirs. Charming, right? Now the only thing scarier than a charming lady killer is a clown serial killer. Yeah, you heard that right. John Wayne Gacy was a serial killer from 1972 to 1978. He had a confirmed 33 kills, and his weapons of choice were rope, chloroform, and handcuffs. But it gets worse, because Gacy lured teenage boys to his house with job offers or magic tricks. Once they were in, he'd handcuff them as part of his act, then choke them using a rope and a stick, tightening it slowly until they stopped breathing. His basement, full of corpses, a literal crawl space of horrors. But I'm not sure what those kids were expecting. I mean, look at him. He's a scary-ass clown. And then we saved the best for last. Louis Garavito confessed to killing over 190 people, but police think this number could be as high as 300. He lured victims with gifts or promises of work, then tortured and murdered them, often using knives and blunt force. Bodies were found with hands and feet bound, showing signs of suffering. Oh, and by the way, he was only sentenced...
Morbid facts about Ozzy Osbourne, Part 2. One night in 1989, at the height of his drug addiction, Ozzy randomly told his wife Sharon, "We've come to a decision that you have to die." He then lunged at her and began choking her before Sharon managed to press the panic button under the table. And the next thing she knew, Ozzy was gone and the cops had arrived. She was later quoted saying, "I had no idea who sat across from me on the sofa, but it wasn't my husband. He goes to a state where he gets a look in his eyes where his shutters are down, and I couldn't get through to him." Ozzy said he had no recollection of the event, and Sharon dropped all charges. In 2010, Ozzy had his genome sequenced to find out how it was possible for him to still be alive after so many years of abusing his body. Researchers found mutations related to metabolism, addiction, and Ozzy's Neanderthal ancestors. In fact, he carries several 100,000 genetic mutations that had never been seen before by scientists. Meaning if Ozzy wasn't a literal mutant, he likely would have died decades ago.
A Delta pilot was...
Did you know that outside of your own control, your brain might sync up with someone else's? Now, if you get the right person, the right place, the right timing, your brain can and will synchronize with somebody else, and this has been measured with EEG data. Now, I'm going to briefly explain how this works, and then I'm going to connect this to an old CIA experiment because they make sense together. Now, how this works, your brain will synchronize with someone and it is outside of your control, just like how your heart beats. You can't stop it and you can't really do anything about it. It's just going to happen. This is one of those things. Researchers took big groups of people, gave everyone an EEG, and split them up into teams. Now, what they learned is that they could see the brainwaves synchronizing before they actually started completing tasks, and that was a very accurate indicator of productivity. Basically meaning the people who synchronized, even if they didn't really like each other much, were super productive, while the teams that vibed and had a good time, enjoyed each other's company, was a very unreliable marker for success. That being said, you can't go off the vibes. This is something that happens that you can't feel. Alright, now for the CIA stuff. Now, my grandpa used to work for these people. I will always read their files. He told me some crazy stuff from his heyday. If you want to read them, they're on their website for free. Now, back in the 80s and 90s, the CIA realized you can alter consciousness with frequencies or sometimes just with meditating a lot. And while this sounds really weird, they spent $16 billion researching this, so follow with it. They hypothesized that if you use the right frequencies or get someone into the right meditative state, they can somewhat leave their body, meaning they go deep into their imagination and see things. But sometimes those things check out. Now, what I mean by that is they might say, "Hey man, meditate really hard and tell me what you see over the eastern seaboard." And that guy might start doing that, and he might see a boat. He might say, "Hey, I saw like a Russian boat in my head." Now, what if they went and looked and there was actually a Russian boat there? This guy may have said 10 things that weren't right, but that Russian boat was there. And what if that guy did it over and over and over and over again? That is what these files go over. And according to the files, that's what these studies were. They had people that would spit out wildly inaccurate information, but in the middle of that information was something that was accurate and very important. I mean, there are files of them using, remote viewers is what they call them, to find U-boats in Germany during the war. Help them locate people that had been captured during wartime. All of these crazy things. And again, these people would spit out wildly inaccurate information, and then there would be like a little golden nugget in there. Now, if you've never heard of that, it probably sounds crazy, and all you have to go off of are files. There are hundreds of files. I've read most of them. They all say it works, and it works really well. The government's official stance was, no, it didn't really work. However, they still do it. They'll say that, but one time they said this didn't work. It's a weird spot to be in. And if you're still here, you're wondering, how do these two things tie together? Well, most people are going to jump to something like that, the supernatural, angels and demons. People always jump to biblical and supernatural things when there's something that science can't quite explain. Now, clearly, our brainwaves leave our head and interact with each other in some type of way because our brainwaves are synchronizing. That, or humans just process information in almost the exact same way, and sometimes you get them in the right groups, sometimes you don't. Now, honestly, the latter makes a lot of sense until you think about all of the variables and just growing up, personality, all these different things that can influence, the brain. Maybe it's not so crazy to think that we interact with each other. Our brainwaves leave our head, they synchronize. That's what this whole thing is about, this whole study. That's why the lines are there. So it's simple. The CIA takes a remote viewer, as they call it, and puts him in a room and says, you need to find a boat in the eastern seaboard. And that guy starts looking really hard in his imagination, but maybe these people that can remote view, maybe they're not psychics or there's anything supernatural, which is likely not the answer. If it's all real, maybe their brainwaves can just synchronize from really far away. Maybe they can just get it all the way out there and back, and they can just get a glimpse. You know, is that so hard to believe? Again, for all of this to work, you have to trust the CIA. That is the biggest foil in this whole thing. That being said, it's so interesting to think about. I always am thinking about this. I think humans are connected, sort of, not in a spiritual way or anything, and it can totally be perceived that way, and that's probably the most comforting way to perceive it. But just at the base level of what science can measure, I think our brainwaves just interact. I think that's the reason that sometimes, you know, you look at someone and they immediately turn around and make eye contact with you. Just these little things that happen that are like hard to explain when it happens over and over and over again. I mean, we've observed this brainwave synchronicity in classrooms, the military, these independent teams during research. It is very beneficial and happens for a reason fully outside of our control. And if this is all real, again, psychic people don't have powers anymore. They're just really sensitive to whatever the fuck is going on when this happens. I mean, I've had people come up to me and just know stuff about me, and that's weird. And again, this inner synchronization is something we have known about since the 2000s and has not really been researched further for probably a lot of good reasons. Number one, it's very expensive to EEG that many people. The conditions always have to be the same. There's a lot that goes into it. But on top of that, dude, you could use that for some horrible things. That was the first thing I thought of, was like, that could be used for terrible things. But it goes to show we really don't know anything about the brain. I even invented something that no one understands how it works. This is not a commercial, but it's relevant to the video. Now, in that CIA study, they were using 2 frequencies to mess with your brain waves. I had a dream, and I was like, what if I used like 14? So I used 14, and it works. It works really good. Science said that shouldn't work at all, but I was like, I had a dream about it. I figured I'd give it a shot. Now, basically, they would use the 2 frequencies in the CIA study to get someone to like gamma or beta, which is different brainwave states based on frequency. The whole world is frequency and vibration. Everything's vibrating matter. So you can trick your brain into mimicking frequencies based on what's played in your ears, right? The CIA would use it to get you into one state, like beta or gamma. It can make you a little bit awake, a little bit tired, not much more than that. My idea was, if you can use multiple of these at the same time, what can't you do? You can make someone very tired, very awake. You could make them feel more fear than anyone should experience. You could make them not able to sleep. Also you could do horrible things with this vibe to it. But that being said, there is so much we don't know about the brain, and people need to start studying this way more. Just because you might not make a ton of money off it selling a clinical device does not mean we should not learn. And with Septisync specifically, my creation, I am going to push to learn about this. I want to know how it works, why it works. If I can really influence different brainwave states simultaneously, dude, I could change the world. I could make so many things that can actually help people. I mean, it wouldn't be hard to start reversing things people are dealing with. You're an insomniac, here's something that can literally make everywhere in your brain want to go to bed. You're too sleepy all the time, here's something that mimics how Adderall affects your brain minus the actual chemicals. The point being here is prescriptions and all this stuff could be somewhat obsolete if you're sensitive to this kind of thing. I mean, think about that. Think about that. We've known about the binaural beats, the sound to change brain frequencies, since the 80s. I was the first one to put like 14 of them together. There's not even a patent for it, you guys. I have patent pending on that. Why am I the first one to do this? Why have we known that our brains synchronize with other people since the 2000s and not really done much about it? Scientists need to get up off their ass and start researching stuff that is cool. Just because it's not profitable doesn't mean it's not awesome. I love you guys all, and thank you.
Have you guys ever experienced to be around someone and then you're thinking about a song and then they start singing it out loud? That is so trippy to me. Or you'll be thinking about certain things and someone says what you were thinking about. It's weird, bro.
A Delta pilot was arrested on Friday right after landing a plane when federal officers stormed the cockpit. This one's a little confusing, so buckle in. On July 26th, Delta Flight 2809 took off from Minneapolis at 7:27 Central Time in a 757 and started heading west to San Francisco. At roughly 9:30 p.m. Pacific Time, the plane landed on runway 28 right after being delayed slightly, reportedly due to fog, and began taxiing to its gate. Once reaching said gate, the passengers witnessed something they never expected. Before anyone got off, roughly 10 officers, some of which were from the Department of Homeland Security, boarded the plane. According to one passenger, they, quote, stormed the cockpit, arrested one of the pilots, and took him off of the 757. Passengers also said the other pilot looked surprised and said he had, quote, no idea what just happened. Delta still hasn't released an official statement yet, and Homeland Security also hasn't given any details. Okay, it's a few hours after I recorded that. We have an update. Reportedly, the pilot was arrested on CP charges, which is absolutely disgusting. Hopefully he rots in prison.
So this is what's going on in the US right now. A damn brain-eating amoeba is creeping through tap water. The same water you wash your face with. This ain't just some horror movie shit. It's real. A little microscopic demon can crawl up your nose and start eating your brain from the inside out. That shit is crazy, bro. That's scary as fuck. Symptoms like freight train, headaches, fever, confusion, and if you don't catch it early, 97% fatal. That's not a typo. 97%. Once it's in, it's game fucking over. And here's the kicker. It's been pop up in the US tap water. Southern states mostly, but cases are spreading. This ain't just a Florida problem anymore. I'ma just say this. Stop fucking around with tap water in your nose. No needy pots with unboiled water. No rinsing sinuses straight from the sink. Either boil your water or bath the still water, which I'm finna start doing. Play stupid games with this amoeba, you win a casket. This is your warning. No ignore it.
I mean, I don't know if any of you guys ever rinsed your nose with just pure tap water. I highly advise that you shouldn't do that. I don't know. I feel like tap water is just filled with so many different things that you don't even know about. I mean, I guess it depends on where you're from. Maybe if you have a filter, it might help, but... nah.
We have just got some disturbing new updates on the mass shooting in New York City, including a reported note where the gunman asked for his brain to be studied. Here's what we know. 4 people, including 1 police officer, was killed after a man, now identified as 27-year-old Shane Devin Tamora, walked into the lobby of the Blackstone building in Midtown Manhattan and started opening fire with a semi-automatic rifle. He then took the elevator to floor 33, where he shot himself in the chest before police could arrest him. Now, as of yet, we don't know why he chose the 33rd floor, or even if there's any significance to the floor or the number. Now, authorities say that he had a documented mental health history, but that he was licensed to carry a firearm in Las Vegas, where he was from. Now, here's where things get crazy, because law enforcement sources say that according to papers found on the shooter's body, they indicate that he had grievances with the NFL. In fact, the Blackstone building that he targeted houses the NFL's headquarters on the 5th floor, and one of the victims, who is currently being treated for serious injuries right now, is an NFL employee himself. CNN also report that Tamora was found with a suicide note in his back pocket saying, "Terry Long football gave me CTE and it caused me to drink a gallon of antifreeze." He also apparently wrote, "You can't go against the NFL, they'll squash you," and then ended it with, "Study my brain, please. I'm sorry, tell Rick I'm sorry for everything." For those who don't know, CTE is an Alzheimer's-like brain disease linked to head trauma and is most commonly associated with football players. CNN also spoke with one of the gunman's high school friends, who said that Tamora was never problematic, he was a good athlete, and even called him a great guy in general. So he said he was shocked when he heard the news, but he hadn't spoke with Tamora for over 10 years. Now, police have since searched his car and they found a revolver, ammunition, magazines, some prescribed medication, but no explosives were found. They also say they are still investigating motives, so I'll keep you guys updated when we have more. Bro, what is going on? Not only are China having to deal with tsunami warnings, but now Shanghai are evacuating 280,000 people because a powerful typhoon is approaching. They don't want us to see August. Sorry about that. So on Wednesday morning, Typhoon Komei made landfall on China's east coast, halting hundreds of flights and ferry services. They imposed speed limits on roads and railways, and they also triggered the second highest storm alert warning. And to make matters worse, the storm is now approaching Shanghai, China's most populated city, and is expected to make impact this evening. Fantastic. You guys won't believe me, but A volcano has just erupted in the far east of Russia. I don't know if we're going to see August. Crazy part is that this volcano is also in the Kamchatka Peninsula where this morning's earthquake took place. And so they're either linked or today's just a really bad frickin' day. Luckily, it's in a remote area, so it hasn't caused much disruption apart from a few aviation warnings. But yeah, add erupting volcanoes to today's list of tsunamis, typhoons, and earthquakes.
We're halfway through 2025, and I gotta say, like, this year is definitely one of the most interesting years, other than like 2020. You know what I'm saying? 2020 was probably like the most interesting year, but like this year is going crazy. Like a volcano eruption, earthquakes, crazy amounts of plane crashes. It's crazy.
So you're saying Antarctica wasn't always frozen?
There's a massive hole in Antarctica. You can see it on Google Earth and about 30 meters wide. But here's the weird part. Around that hole, there are bases, research stations, and each base, it's named after a different country. Every major nation has a presence there. They're all studying whatever's in that hole. But that's not even the craziest part. About, I'd say, 15 to 30 miles behind that hole, there's a gigantic pyramid. I'm talking massive, way bigger than the ones in Egypt. You can see its complete apex. It's been featured on the History Channel, Ancient Aliens. It's not a secret. It's just there. Now, how did a pyramid get in Antarctica? No sand, no tools, just ice. Well, Antarctica wasn't always frozen. That continent, it shifted. The Earth's crust slipped, moved the landmass all the way to the South Pole during a pole shift. Rapid, violent. And here's the scientific proof. As the ice melts thanks to global warming, they're finding animals buried in the ice, perfectly preserved. And when they dissect them, undigested food, still in their stomachs. You know what that means?
They froze instantly.
Exactly. Flash frozen. Something catastrophic happened. Fast. And nobody's talking about it.
This is just a theory, not a fact.
There's this satellite image from the ESA 7 satellite. This was in 1968. And it was like the first visual of Earth via satellite, or like a composite of it.
Yeah.
But look at, and was
like
stationed over the North Pole. And this is the picture that they released.
What the heck?
And they talk about, oh, it's just the composite images that they all put together, and the North Pole wasn't captured. Right? Okay, well then this was from Google Earth in like the early 2000s. Send this to you.
It's the hole to the center of the Earth.
And then this was released by NASA, I believe, in the 80s or 90s.
You guys,
all separate.
Go.
Holy moly, dude.
That's
Literally.
actually unsettling.
So where's Santa?
But does it not look, if you compare it to that first map,
it's identical.
And people talk about...
And what year was that map? That was like the 1600s?
Yeah.
Gosh, man.
Yeah, and people have talked about, like, apparently NASA, but they've taken it back, or they've like scrubbed it or something. They talked about like, it was really hard to find the image, but there was this obscure image that people like zoomed in of the Earth, and at the top there was literally a black stone sticking out like at the top of the world.
Oh my gosh.
A black stone.
And it's like the same as this freaking map, bro.
Yeah.
Like
guys,
literally
these mysteries of the world.
That's like we're never gonna know.
We will. I believe we'll know in heaven.
Yeah, but I'm saying like, it's just because people will say, of course, there's nothing there. Like you just go. Like, people have gone there. It's like, well, we don't know.
You know,
that.
flight paths. You're not allowed to fly over the North Pole. Yeah, because I mean, probably because it's the most harsh climate. But still, people don't fly over the North Pole.
Yeah.
But Admiral Byrd did.
Admiral Byrd.
We've talked about him a lot too.
Yeah.
He
Good
did
name for a pilot.
Yeah. He's associated with a ton of stuff. Like even the Project Fishbowl. He was involved in the Operation High Jump.
Was he the guy that had the heart attack in
I'll never have
Antarctica?
No, that was Buzz Aldrin.
Oh.
Admiral Byrd, this was like shortly after World War II. He was sent with an armada. The Navy sent this whole armada of battleships to the Antarctic. Super weird stuff. And it was just to explore, but it was all weaponized. And so the theory is that he went out there to seek out Nazi hideouts in Antarctica.
Yeah.
So he explored that, said that there's some crazy stuff there. And then he also did an exploration to the North Pole. And this is where this is the conspiracy part.
Okay.
Because apparently he had, and we've talked about it before, I believe, but his secret diary that only he had. And then when he died, his son got it. And then when his son was trying to publish the stuff in it, he died, like under very mysterious circumstances. But Admiral Byrd talks about in this secret diary, allegedly that he wrote, people think that it's fake, that when he went to explore the North Pole, there was an entry to inner Earth, like hollow Earth.
And that would make sense with this big old hole.
It would. And he describes it as being in the Earth, lush green land beyond the ice, mammoth-like creatures, a technology-advanced civilization, and meeting with a being called the Master, who warns humanity about nuclear weapons.
Wow.
So this is where it gets a little like,
yeah,
I don't know about it.
But it sounds like the little green children.
Yeah, I know. That's what I thought about as the green kids.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
That literally backs up that story. That's so fun to think about. A giant hole that has a whole different world. I mean, yeah, dude.
It's all
I'm just
freaking
thinking
me.
like sci-fi. So the possibility of sci-fi movies right now are just endless.
Gosh.
But apparently this master gave Admiral Byrd this message. It's a long message. But at one point he says to Admiral Byrd, you see, we have never interfered before in your race's wars of barbarity, but now we must, for you have learned to tamper with a certain power that is not for man, namely the atomic energy. Our emissaries have already delivered messages to the powers of your world, and yet they do not heed. You have been chosen to witness here that our world does exist. You see, our culture and science is many thousands of years beyond your race.
Wow.
You, my son, must return to the surface of the world with this message.
Like you could fit the whole population of the world in the United States. They're saying you could fit them in Texas or Alaska.
Standing shoulder to shoulder, the entire world's population could fit within 500 square miles.
Of Los Angeles?
Of Los Angeles.
What? When I first started flying, I would always just look out the plane and go, it's empty. I go, we should all have a plot of land. When you fly across the United States, dude, there's only people in LA, New York, Miami, and San Francisco. Everything else is empty, dude. That means this overpopulation bullshit is a myth.
Yeah, he's not lying. If you do fly over the U.S., there's like a lot of empty land. I sometimes think to myself, like, is that just farmland? You know what I'm saying? Because it'd be so like, there's so much just land. And a lot of people do just live in the main cities, if I'm being honest. Apparently more than half of New York just lives in the city.
And it's mostly just a big ball of lava. That's Earth. But 10,000 feet is not a big deal.
Have you given any consideration whatsoever to the flat Earth movement?
Haha. I think that's a troll situation.
Oh, it's not. No, it's not. You would like to think that because you're a super genius. But I, as a normal person, I know there's people way dumber than me. And they really, really believe. They watch YouTube videos which go on uninterrupted and spew out a bunch of fucking fake facts very eloquently and articulately. And they really believe. These people really believe.
I mean, if it works for them, sure. Fine.
It's weird though, right?
Why is it so hard to talk someone out of a conspiracy theory? You've probably tried by laying out the facts and evidence and showing the flaw in their reasoning, but for some reason they still didn't believe you, right? Why is that? Why do so many people refuse to believe facts and reason? Are they just dumb and unreasonable? Well, no. Those same people might be perfectly capable of reasoning on other topics. There's something else going on here. In my previous videos, I talked about the 4 reasons why people believe conspiracy theories. 1 is a lack of information. Conspiracy theories grow when we don't have all the answers, like when COVID first broke out and we didn't know much about it yet. Well, once we do have information, you can fill in those answers, so that can convince some people, but not often because of the other reasons. The second reason is anxiety. When people feel anxiety, they are more likely to grab any answer, including conspiracy theories. You would think since people feel anxiety about COVID threatening their health, economy, and lifestyle, that they would welcome a scientific explanation to reduce those risks, so it would reduce their anxiety, right? Well, unfortunately, that's not how our minds work. Anxiety is like a feedback loop. Once you have anxiety about a danger, your mind is looking so hard for more threats that even a solution, like a vaccine, is misperceived as a threat. And it also misperceives dangers, like bleach, as a solution. So it is not easy to quiet an anxious mind. The third reason is following your in-group. Trying to talk someone out of a conspiracy theory may mean you're asking them to go against their in-group. We are social animals, so we're reluctant to defy others in our identity groups, like our political party, nationality, religion, and so on. And the fourth reason is ego. This is the biggest obstacle to changing someone's mind. Remember that conspiracy theorists have held their beliefs for a long time, so changing their mind would mean they have to admit to everyone that they were wrong for a long time. That's just too bitter of a pill to swallow for most people. The other ego obstacle is that if they decide to accept the mainstream belief, they won't feel special anymore. The biggest reason they believed the conspiracy theory in the first place is because it makes them feel special, like they have a superior knowledge that made them better than the majority. So letting that go would mean coming off their high horse and becoming just one more average person in the middle of the herd. So you can see the obstacles to changing people's minds. If they are to change, it has to be done in a way where they can save face. They have to be persuaded by someone from their in-group, or at least someone neutral who isn't attacking or mocking them. And they don't want to hear, "I told you so." They'd rather no one remember that they ever believed such silly thoughts, or even notice that they changed their mind. It takes time and a lot of gentle repetition to counterbalance the sheer volume of misinformation they've consumed. So, good luck.
We all know the Earth is actually... Okay, no, we're not doing that. What? Yeah, we're doing this? For real? Why do I have to be that guy? What is beyond the ice wall of Antarctica? Disclaimer, obviously a theory and should be considered for entertainment purposes only. Yes, this is the ridiculous Earth plane theory, or at least a part of it. Now, personally, I think this map is complete bullcrap. There's just countless evidence that goes against it. Before ever even considering a theory, you always need to look for some sort of tangible proof. And these mysterious blue shards reported in a leak from Antarctic research labs are a little more revealing. They were leaked by this helicopter engineer who was contracted to work at McMurdo Station in Antarctica from 1997 to the year 2000. And if you don't know, McMurdo Station is usually where shit goes down. So this engineer, let's call him Jimmy Boy, claimed that he befriended a few of the scientists doing research there in 1998. The scientists told him that they had two types of ice they worked with down there. There was this ice that they drilled cores out of boreholes in the ground that was cold to the touch, usually clear or some shade of white, and melted into water. Almost all of Antarctica is covered with this type of ice, which is just normal ice. Clearly, this wasn't their main focus of research. The only times they ever actively study this ice is when film crews from like National Geographic came down to film a documentary. The other 95% of the time, they studied the forbidden sky ice, totally different than the ice that we're used to. Jimmy wasn't allowed in the labs where they studied sky ice because it was, you know, super duper top secret. But one time, one of the scientists he got close with showed him a piece of the ice, and it was unlike any other matter he's ever seen on Earth. First of all, you couldn't touch it with your bare hands and had to wear your heavy-duty South Pole exploration gloves when holding it because of how cold it was. Secondly, as you can tell, it was this solid deep blue color, allegedly composed mainly of oxygen, and is why they called it sky ice. And oh man, I haven't even scratched the surface of how deep this goes. Oxygen has a freezing point of about negative 218 degrees Celsius, which is when it turns into a solid, so you'd practically get frostbite just by looking at it. Jimmy held it for a bit with his gloves, of course, noting that it was lighter than regular ice, almost like he could have thrown it up in the air and it would have floated back down. It was also slightly flexible and completely opaque, so you couldn't see through it at all. And it didn't even melt into water when it got warm, but just continually shrank until it ceased to exist, likely turning directly into oxygen gas, which is why they had to study it in Antarctica. They couldn't even transport it to anywhere in the world before it disappeared. The Russians knew about this too, and it's part of the reason they all have research stations down there. After 15 minutes or so, the sky ice was almost completely gone, and Jimmy asks his research friend where they even get this ice from. And this is where it gets interesting, because to that, the scientist replied, they get it from the wall. wall. According to him, if you go deep enough, hundreds of kilometers inland from the coast, you'll run into a huge wall in Antarctica that contains this sky ice, the biggest natural structure in the world. This sounds a lot like the infamous ice wall from the pancake Earth theory, which states there's a giant wall of ice that surrounds our entire planet, and there's even more land beyond this wall if you somehow manage to get past it, including the legendary lands of Atlantis, Mu, the Garden of Eden, and even Asgard. Obviously just an incredible stretch of a theory, but interesting to see the ice wall mentioned in a scientific setting here. Now buckle in, cause this is where it actually gets insane, in case you felt like it wasn't already. The US has known about this sky ice for decades, and back in the 60s they actually tried boring a tunnel through the ice wall. They built a special boring machine made for the super cold temperatures of the sky ice wall and started digging. For the first 2 miles or so, the floor was solid rock, but after that, even the ground under them became the bright blue sky ice, until they got about 5 to 10 miles deep after an entire year of boring, which is pretty damn far and still no sight of the other side. When they realized the tunnel was shrinking and eventually got so small that they could barely even move their machine anymore. Turns out sky ice, when exposed to warmer temperatures, just dissipates into thin air, but in colder temperatures, like inside the tunnel, it regenerates itself. Eventually, the tunnel got so tight, it became too difficult to continue boring, so they scrapped the project, ditched the machine, and after many decades, the hole they dug into the wall has now been completely sealed. Now, some people say this sky ice wall sounds almost exactly like what would be called the dome or the firmament in the horizontal earth, or at least fragments of it, and even the most popular book in the world had something to say about it. Ezekiel 126 reads, "And above the firmament that was over their heads was the likeness of a throne, as the appearance of a sapphire stone." Now, whether you believe in the Bible or not, we can all agree it is by definition a historic text that was written sometime in history. Firmament over their heads, appearance of a sapphire stone. I mean, I really don't want to believe this is true, and who knows, maybe this entire sky ice Antarctica story is just completely made up, but as always, what if?
If water is clear, why are the oceans blue?
Because water is actually blue. You just need a lot of it for it to start to look blue. This is just like how glass is actually green. You just need a lot of it for it to start to look green. For example, just look at the side of any mirror. It looks green.
And if the atmosphere makes the sky blue, then why does the Earth appear blue in space?
Hold on, is this guy serious? It's because the water's blue.
If the moon reflects the sun's sunlight at night, then how can you see the sun and the moon at the same time?
Notice how in this clip, the shadow on the moon, the part that's not lit up, is on the opposite side from the sun. That's because the sun's light is lighting up the bright part of the moon.
How are the top of mountains cold when it's closer to the sun?
Oh lordy. It's because the top of mountains are barely closer to the sun, but also they have way less air, which makes it a lot colder.
If God said, "Let there be light," then that means darkness came before light. Doesn't that mean darkness is faster than the speed of light if it was already there?
I don't know about y'all, but I usually don't use the Bible to inform on my knowledge of special relativity.
How can the dinosaurs live on Earth for 65 million years and not evolve?
Wait, what? The dinosaurs went extinct 65 million years ago. They haven't been here and evolving. Well, they're kind of here and evolving in the form of birds. But dinosaurs existed for about 135 million years, living from about 240 million years ago to 65 million years ago, and they did evolve during that period. They evolved a lot. There were so many different kinds of dinosaurs.
The truth is right in front of us. We don't have to go anywhere to find it.
Oh, this is an ancient aliens thing. So this guy just gets all of his information from the History Channel. Got it.
Around any of these areas, okay? There's North America, South America, Africa, India, Russia, China. Okay, so very similar to this map. North America, South America, Africa, India, China, Russia. Okay? Only thing different, Australia. There is no Australia here because it hasn't been discovered yet. This is 1587. Australia wasn't discovered until 1606. So that's why that's not there. But my main question is, if this is a globe flattened out and this is on the bottom, right? What the fuck is this? There's no ice on it. And guess what? Antarctica hadn't been discovered yet. Antarctica was discovered in 1820. If you look, oh look, there's an alligator, there's a camel, warm weather animals. So, you want to explain to me, first thing, what the hell is this, all this land? And second thing, what froze them? What happened between 1587 and 1892 where those areas got frozen?
I feel like the 1500s map wasn't necessarily like showing directly what lands. I feel like it was like more of a hypothesis, like they were trying to predict what potentially could be other lands on the outside, because I feel like they're trying to like take into consideration that they haven't discovered everything yet, if that makes sense. So that's what I think that was. I don't think it was an ice wall.
It's the giant steps in Peru.
You have got to be kidding me. Probably already know that this isn't a giant staircase. There still seems to be some confusion on it, so let me just drive it into the ground one last time. This is Ollanta Tambo. It is an Incan terrace farm. Milo, it looks like stairs. All right, riddle me this. If this was a staircase built for giants, why is there a human-sized staircase in the middle of it? And another human-sized staircase on the side of it? I don't know, maybe they had human pets, a little pet on a guy on a string? That really looks like a giant could live in it. Oh yeah, and this doorway too, it's like 5.5 feet tall. Let's use some context clues. What's that over there? Is that a terrace farm? Of course that's not a terrace farm, that was a staircase for baby giants. You ready for this? This is my favorite part. There is an entire valley right here. Where were they going? Why would you feel the need to build gigantic steps up this hill and into these tiny ass houses? Look at that, there's no stairs down the other side of the mountain. And this is what your giant stairs are made out of. Can you imagine a giant picking this up? Yes, we're gonna make a staircase so I can get over this hill. Giant conspiracy truly makes me believe that the human race is a lost cause.
And just like that, 2 conspiracy theories have been debunked today. While Taylor Swift and Harry Styles were busy writing songs about their very real relationship, fans were busy crafting very fictional homosexual relationships about them. Let's start with Gaylor, the theory that Taylor Swift was looking bisexuality right in the eye and dating Carly Kloss, a woman from 2014 to 2015. Fans went insane with this theory, and there was some compelling evidence like them going on road trips together, writing their names in the sand with a heart. On the cover of Vogue together, saying that they're unstoppable, inseparable, and adorable. This photo of them seemingly kissing in secrecy, or so they thought, in a VIP section at a concert.
So clap if you think they were kissing.
Gaylorism was its own religion, and fans were going crazy making t-shirts, wearing them to the Eras Tour. These fans would knock on your door Sunday afternoon asking you if you had time to learn about Gaylor. And while I definitely think this was overkill, I don't think it was necessarily toxic to speculate about if she was dating Carly Kloss, because we speculate immensely about all her heterosexual relationships. She never said she was just straight, so I think a little speculation is fine, given the compelling evidence. I've definitely done my fair share of talking about Gaylor before. But it led Taylor Swift in 2014 to say, as my 25th birthday present from the media, I'd like you to stop accusing all my friends of dating me. And now in 2023, she's putting those rumors to rest in the prologue for 1989 Taylor's version. She said, I thought if I only hung out with my female friends, the media wouldn't sensationalize that or sexualize that, right? She would later on learn that they could sexualize it, and they would. The fact that she's doubled down on it multiple times now I think it would be toxic to keep the rumors going. So Gaylors, we've had our fun, but this is Taylor's way of telling us she is not bisexual. We asked the question, she gave us the answer. Conspiracy theory debunked. We have to respect that. The next conspiracy theory was that Harry Styles and Louis Tomlinson were dating, and that their sexuality didn't just go in one direction. They literally just thought this because these two had a very tight bond. And very tight pants. Larry Stylinson. The Larry conspirators were so wild that they would actually say that Louis' relationship with his wife and the fact that he had a child was all fake and all cover up for their real relationship. And that the music industry was forcing them to stay in the closet so their music could sell. They truly believed this. Like, they were more wild than flat earthers, and you couldn't tell them any different. And allegedly, the first thing Harry Styles and Louis Tomlinson ate on their very first date was chicken parmesan. So a fan asked Louis, how do you make chicken parmesan? Kind of to antagonize him about the whole thing, still pushing the theory, and he said, you start by realizing all these ridiculous childish theories and conspiracies are wasted time and energy, and then just throw the chicken in the oven to be fair. Simple stuff. Damn, he's had enough. Harry has kind of combated this theory before. Someone asked if any of his songs on the album are about Louis Tomlinson, and he was like, well, I don't like to exactly tell my fans what my songs are about, but I'm gonna lean towards no. Their name is no, their sign is no, their number is no. Larry's, you need to let it go. And so do you, Gaylors. You need to let it go. You need to let it go on to the no. Y'all know Patty loves a conspiracy theory, but unfortunately these two are debunked. But follow for more conspiracy theory coverage and coverage on their inevitable debunction.
I know how they faked the moon landing. Go on. I want you to first look at this picture of Neil Armstrong's footprint on the moon. Okay. Okay, now look at his spacesuit. What? They don't match, Cheyenne. How does this shoe make this footprint? Okay. I'll tell you, they don't. Yeah, so I'm right. But that's because the astronauts wore something called overshoes on the moon. And those are... The shoes that you showed me were a part of Neil Armstrong's suit, but he also wore something called overshoes because they needed to ensure that their actual shoes wouldn't melt. The moon was 300 degrees Fahrenheit on the day side, and at the time, we didn't know what the moon was made of. Okay, fine, I missed that. But I promise you one day I will beat you. Dude, can you just accept it? We went to the moon.
That's such a debated topic now. I've seen so many videos of people being like, oh yeah, we didn't go to the moon. And oh yeah, we went to the moon. We did. It just makes me think like, I don't really know. Like, I feel like I watch a lot of these videos and they'd be like, oh yeah, we didn't go to the moon. And like, it's kind of convincing that we didn't, you know what I'm saying? Based off of the technology we had back then and we have now, how we can easily replicate it and make it look 10 times realer. It makes you really think sometimes. Like, what do you guys think? Do you guys think we went to the moon? Let me know down in the comments.
Do you guys think the Earth is flat or round?
Who's asking?
Ruby.
Who do you work for?
Just a question, guys.
What do you think it is?
I think it's flat. I think it's...
No, that's what we've been saying.
So you guys agree that the Earth is flat?
In our parody documentary, yeah.
When we were surrounded by the dumbest people on the
was a
planet.
joke?
We posed as flat earthers and infiltrated the Flat Earth Convention. It is the dumbest group of people I've ever seen in my life.
Wait, so how do we know that the Earth is not
Have
flat?
you heard of Occam's razor?
No.
It's a theory that the simplest explanation is often the correct explanation. There are so many things and explanations that prove the Earth is round,
Like
correct
what?
and true time and time and time again.
Okay.
The same doesn't hold up for the Flat Earth theory.
Is them going to the moon real?
I was gonna ask you that.
No.
Ruby,
Why did they never go back?
So you don't have to believe both, because I don't think we made it to the moon.
There's a lot
either.
of lies, y'all.
What do
There's
you
a lot of
mean?
lies.
Why not? We're going back to the moon right now. We're going back.
Why
we
have they
are.
never went
Someone's
back in all
going back,
these
either
years?
we, Russia, or India. I can't remember what it is. Somebody's going back to the moon right now.
What? I've never heard this before. So they're saying the only reason the United States never adopted the metric system is because the ship carrying the standardized weights was hijacked by pirates in the 1790s. Alright, so I did a little digging. I don't know if I'd call it true, but I would definitely at least call it a gross oversimplification. Let me break it down for you. Since England had spent the last couple hundred years not being able to keep it in her pants, much of the world used the British imperial system. In 1795, the French decided to go and invent the metric system like a bunch of goddamn communists. Thomas Jefferson, the acting Secretary of State at the time, heard about the metric system and was like, yo, I want to pitch that to Congress. So he called up his buddy Joseph Dombey in France and was like, bring me the metric system. So Dombey grabbed some metric weights, hopped on a ship, got blown off course by a storm, and then was captured by pirates and died in captivity. Oh, sorry, I don't mean pirates. I mean British privateers. I swear to God, if I ever hear another British person complain about how we don't use the metric system, I'm gonna... Changing the unit of measurement wasn't up to Thomas Jefferson. And in all likelihood, even if he had got these weights, he probably wouldn't have been able to change Congress's mind. I wouldn't say pirates are the reason we don't have the metric system, but god damn it, they sure help.
Here's proof that the motherfucking Earth is round. And for the record, can I just say how much I hate that I have to do this in 2024? But apparently flat earthers have members all around the globe, and a couple people did request it. First of all, you have to believe in gravity. If you don't, then I don't know what to tell you. But on Earth, which is round, gravity pulls everything to the center, which obviously makes sense. In a fictional flat version of the Earth, gravity would still pull everything to the center of the plane because that's how it works, which means that apples would fall sideways in Australia, but flavors don't believe Australia is real anyway. Engineering. The Verrazano Bridge is massive, and because of the curvature of the Earth, the towers had to be 41 millimeters further apart at the top than at the base, or the whole thing would collapse. Line of sight. Watch a sunset and then quickly run to a higher elevation and you can see it again. That can only happen on a round Earth. Same thing with ships, which don't disappear all at once because they round the Earth from our perspective. This is that they knew thousands of years ago. Speaking of which, this guy, a Greek mathematician in 240 BCE, knew that you could measure the angle and lengths of shadows cast by the sun in different locations at the same time and that they would differ. This wouldn't happen if the Earth was flat. How about something simple? Lunar eclipses. When the Earth casts its shadow on the moon, have you all ever seen it look like this? Didn't think so. At this point, we have thousands of images of a round Earth from space by agencies from all over the world. It's not just NASA. You directly benefit from and use technology like GPS satellites, which are designed to orbit a round Earth by the very agencies that you ironically on. I also don't think the dinosaurs died like this. And lastly, arguing for something this stupid just screams first world privilege.
Yo, she was so intense about that, but she's not wrong though. I feel like that's definitely a first world argument because, like, who cares, right? At the end of the day, Earth's flat or round, you're still gonna die. I'm just being honest. Just being honest. I personally think it's round, you know what I'm saying? The moon's round, the sun's round. Why would the Earth be flat? I don't know. Unless they're faking the moon and the sun, and it's just a hologram.
She's got a ridiculous Trump assassination conspiracy theory.
I mean, it's a little weird, you know, that this is America and shooters don't miss unless they're hired to.
A miss is always possible. What? Shooters don't miss unless they're hired to? Especially if the shooter is an untrained 20-something who knows that he's about to commit murder or try to change history and be killed himself. There's a lot of pressure. People in the crowd are shouting, "He's got a gun." Some reporting says police officers were attempting to engage the shooter. There's a lot of pressure. Missing is completely possible. And what's the alternative? The shooter was hired to miss. Trump hired this kid to take a shot at him. That's insane.
People often flee the scene of a shooting, but these people did not. Instead, they crouched down, not enough to protect.
So it's got to be fake because they're all crouching instead of running. But, what? They're all in on it, I guess? They all know it's fake? Or maybe they're all confused as to what's happening, or startled, or afraid, or they know that a crowd couldn't possibly run out of this, so they all just sit still for a second? Even if the shooter was hired to miss, wouldn't the crowd's reaction be genuine, whatever it was, either way?
And when they saw that the Cheeto Puff was okay, they erupted into applause, and the Secret Service still did not rush him off a stage because there was no active threat perceived, even though it had not been declared that the shooter had been apprehended.
It's in the video. You can hear when the Secret Service jumps on Trump, you can hear their voices talking to one another through Trump's microphone. And you can hear them say, "Shooter down." She says they're standing around on stage, even though the shooter hasn't been apprehended. Shooter's down? Shooter's down? So yeah, Trump and Secret Service pause on stage for a few seconds after confirming the shooter has been apprehended, and maybe it's tactically unwise for Trump to be doing this, but that's not evidence that the shooter was hired. Hey man, could you just shoot me in the ear a little bit? Thanks, that'll really help my poll numbers. Usually conspiracy theories rely on identifying oddities in the mainstream narrative and then saying, oh, something else must be happening instead. Her conspiracy theory isn't like that because she hasn't even managed to point to odd things in the mainstream narrative. It's not odd that a 20-year-old untrained shooter under immense pressure missed his shot. It's not odd that people didn't try to sprint out of crowded bleachers. It's not the case that the Secret Service did not know the shooter was apprehended before they paused for a second on stage. But she's still trying to do the same thing. She's still trying to do the same thing, even though she hasn't identified real problems with the mainstream narrative. She's still trying to say, this is odd, I bet something else is going on, like they hired a shooter to do this. And what she misses, and what a lot of conspiracy theories miss, is that you need to compare the conspiracy theory to the mainstream theory. And notice that the conspiracy theory is way more odd than the mainstream theory. So if you think the shooter was hired by Trump and they told the people in the crowd, it's cool, don't react, don't run away, just sit there and make sure you get it on your cell phone camera. And they told the Secret Service, hey, shooting's gonna happen, but it's fake, so let me stay up on stage for a little bit. And then they tell this, 20-year-old guy, like, just try to, bing, graze my ear, but don't hurt me, don't really hit my head. That's way less believable than the mainstream narrative. And it's so disturbing to me and distressing that, millions of people like stuff that is just so obviously, patently dumb, for lack of a better word. And I don't know. Thanks for your time.
Dude, that's so ironic that video decided to pop up literally on July 13th, 2025. Pretty much a year ago today. I mean, it's not going to drop on July 13th. I don't know when I'm dropping this, but it's going to drop soon. So it's kind of crazy that I'm watching this a year ago. I mean, a year later after that assassination happened. And to be honest, anything is possible. But I talked to this girl, like, when it happened, I'd say like a week after it happened. And she was like, oh yeah, Trump hired this dude to shoot him. Like, it was all fake. It was all fake. I looked at her like, you're telling me someone would hire someone to graze them? You know how hard it is to, if you've ever shot a gun, do you understand how hard it is to graze a target compared to actually just hit the target? Like, I would say it'd be easier for bro to actually hit him in the head than graze his ear. So if you pay someone to graze your ear, you're tweaking. Like you're asking to get killed, because it's not easy to just graze someone. And like what that dude's saying, like, I personally don't think it was staged, because that's crazy. Because why would someone pay you to stage a shooting just for you to get shot and die? You know what I'm saying? It's not even worth it. So in my opinion, I don't think it's fake. I 100% don't think it's fake. But a lot of people think it was fake and all that. I'm just like, it's kind of hard to like pay someone. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of hard to like just graze someone, if that makes sense. For anyone that's ever shot a gun or went to a shooting range or shot a target, y'all already know, like, shooting a gun if you're not a master at it, is not the easiest thing. Like, obviously it gets easier as you do it, but you know what I'm saying? I don't think it's fake. If you think it's fake, let me know your thoughts and why you think so in the comments.
This video got 50 million views, and it shows these two guys who were tweaking because they saw water that looked unlike anything they had ever seen before. And to be honest, I'd be tweaking as well if I were in this situation, because that water does not look normal, and I have no idea why it looks like that. It's sort of like glassy clear, as if it's some sort of other material. And I haven't figured out a scientific reason for why the water would be like this. Maybe there's more salt in it, but I have no idea. But we gotta figure out who these two guys are, because many people speculate that they actually tried to sail to Antarctica and see if they found new hidden land over there. Or maybe they actually did cross the ice wall, and this is what it looks like when you go over there. The water is actually different. That would be just like mind-blowing, because if the water's that different, then the land's got to be like just super weird, like fourth dimensional or something.
But I mean, that's like just a different world.
But these guys are like freaking out here, so we got to figure out who these guys are. In the comment section, could you let me know or DM me?
What was that? Dude, you have got to take photos of that.
Yeah, he says you should take photos, but like I think a video would be much better.
Yeah. From horizon to horizon. I gotta see on
These guys are just like out in the middle of nowhere too. Kind of jealous. I kind of just want to like get in a boat and go in one direction and see if I find anything new. But yeah, that's the end of the video. I wish I could find more videos just like this.
I feel like a lot of these people that talk about like exploring the world on a boat and see if they can find quote unquote new land, I feel like a lot of them forget that we literally have hundreds to thousands of satellites that orbit the Earth daily. You know what I'm saying? If the satellites ain't pick up any new land, I don't think sailing on a ship for like months to years is gonna really make you find any new land, in my opinion. I mean, there's obviously the conspiracy theory that maybe the government's hiding blah blah blah, but like, if Trump can look at what other countries are doing through satellites, I'm pretty sure the satellites could definitely pick up on if there's new land somewhere, you know?
When I first saw this, I was like, there ain't no way that town is actually built inside a meteor crater. I mean, look at that. It's just too good to be true. Look at how circular that is. So I looked into it, and that's where I found that this town is absolutely built inside a meteor crater, and that this town is probably the least interesting thing about this meteor crater. This is the town of Nördlingen in Germany, and it's located inside the Nördlinger Rice impact crater. And you gotta be like, yeah, no shit, look at how circular that is. Of course it's an impact crater. Yeah, that's what I thought too. But here's an actual map of that impact crater. It's 15 miles in diameter. While technically that's true, it's a little misleading because it makes you think this is the crater. But the real crazy thing about this crater is it has a mineral found nowhere else in the world. It's called Moldavite. It looks like this. It was a type of projectile glass that was formed when this meteor impacted the ground 15 million years ago. If you like geology, it's super cool because it's really fucking rare and only comes from this one crater. And if you're a crystal girly, it's really cool because it's super fucking powerful and can make you explode people with your mind. If you want to learn more about cool archaeology and natural science, come check me out over on YouTube, Mini Minute Man.
I knew this girl that was always so big on Moldavite. She was like, oh, if you ever want to change your life, get rid of the bad people, get rid of the bad spirits, use Moldavite. It will completely change your life. It's gonna hurt like maybe the first year or two, but after that, your life's gonna be amazing. I mean, I never got it, but I just remember she was saying like it will literally cut off, like if someone's, let's say you're in love with a girl, right, and she's just no good for you, but like she's acting amazing right now. If you get Moldavite, it's going to expose her true colors, and then it's the relationship, if she's not meant for you, is going to go to absolute crap, and then your whole life is going to do absolutely bad for like the 6 months to a year or whatever she was saying, and then it's going to do a U-turn, and then your life's going to be amazing after. Everyone's going to be amazing. You're going to meet your freaking soulmate or something, like, I don't know, something like that. I'm not really big into Christology, I'm gonna call it, spirituality. I mean, I'm big into spirituality, but like the crystal side, I don't really know too much about it.
Rumors that behind the wall in Antarctica hide a whole unexplored city have been around for quite some time, but primary evidence that it exists appeared only recently and only in Darknet. As far as is known, Antarctica is considered the coldest and most unfavorable continent for any tourist. monstrous wind gusts that literally knock people off their feet, and impassable snowdrifts limit any travel for ordinary people. However, at the same time on the continent is located to an insane amount of equipment, of military and scientists from different countries. And such activity in Antarctica is not without reason. Everyone knows that there is an ice barrier, the length of which is thousands of kilometers. In some places of this barrier, there are tunnels where you can sail freely even on a huge ship. And just like that, they are very strictly guarded. And secretly from us, there's still work going on and something is being studied. However, these vague shots, which accidentally leaked into the network, shocked many people. This is not a polar explorer's base as it seems at first glance. When the video was brought as close as possible and the blurriness was removed, it was discovered that the footage showed a real ice metropolis.
Bro, I've seen so many Antarctica videos in this one compilation alone, or just lately even on TikTok, that at this point, I should do a YouTube vlog going to Antarctica and post it right now and just be like, here in Antarctica, and like see if I can get to the ice wall like they were talking about.
So they found a whale skeleton in the middle of the Sahara Desert.
Yeah, can't park there, bro.
And they don't really know how it got there.
Actually, we do. But how do you propose they got there?
Close to 1,000 whale skeletons were uncovered in this part of the desert. Some claim it may be an indicator of a certain lost civilization that got swept by the sea.
Counter argument, they swam there. Here's a question. What species of whale do you think these skeletons belong to? Well, as it turns out, they're mostly Basilosaurus and Dorodon, two species which went extinct 34 million years ago at the end of the Eocene epoch. Now, here's where the fossils were found. Wadi el-Hitan in northern Egypt. So, what did the Sahara look like during the Eocene? Well, it looked something like this. It used to be a coastline. So yeah, the ancient whales literally just swam there. Wadi el-Hitan isn't proof of any great flood myth. It is, however, a fascinating place with a lot of scientific value, providing a treasure trove of insights into the evolutionary history of modern whales. So stop spreading misinformation online.
No astronaut ever went to the moon.
This will not go well.
And the reason is because there's a Van Allen belt which is highly radioactive.
There is exactly one correct piece of information in this video, and it is that yes, the Earth is surrounded by two Van Allen radiation belts that are indeed highly radioactive. But that didn't stop the Apollo astronauts from going to the moon. I'll explain why in a minute, but let's watch a bit more.
The reason E.T. put that Van Allen belt is there so we couldn't visit any place.
Hold up, what now? My guy, the Van Allen radiation belts weren't put there by aliens. They exist because our magnetic fields redirect radiation to them. See, there's a lot of radiation in space coming from both the sun and beyond the solar system. If the Earth didn't have a magnetic field, that radiation would have no problem making its way to the surface of the Earth, inevitably hurting life on this planet. But because the magnetic field exists, it redirects the protons and electrons, which make up the majority of the radiation, and instead they end up trapped in belts around the Earth, the Van Allen radiation belts. And that means that as long as the Earth has had a magnetic field, which is basically the whole time the Earth has existed, the Earth has had a Van Allen belt. No aliens required.
You would need 5 feet of lead to defeat the purpose of the radioactivity.
Right, so here's the contention. No man could have made it to the moon alive while passing through a radiation field that dense. Except, of course, that's not true. We can measure the radiation dose that you'd receive while being in the densest part of the Van Allen belts with minimal shielding, and it works out to be about 6 millisieverts per hour. If you wanted to live there, you would need a lot of shielding to, not expire, but radiation dose is cumulative, so if you're just passing through, you'll only get so much radiation. And it turns out that the Apollo rockets traveled through the radiation belts pretty quickly, around 25,000 miles per hour, meaning that they spent about an hour passing through the Van Allen belts. And they intentionally took a path so that they would stay in the hot regions for as little time as possible. The net result is that, yeah, they did get a lot of radiation in that short time, but it was about as much as like a CT scan, and that's not particularly deadly. On the other hand, it's actually pretty easy to prove we went to the moon.
The system wasn't built for you to win. You went to school to memorize facts you never use. You were trained to raise your hand, wait your turn, and follow instructions. Then they told you, get a job, work 40 hours a week, give half of it to tax, retire at 67 if you're lucky. That's not a life. That's a script. And most people don't question it because they're too tired from living it. But once you see it, you can't unsee it. That's when you realize freedom was never going to be handed to you. You have to build it. And that's why I teach digital products, because ownership is the only way out. No boss, no begging, no clocking. You move different when you know the system was never designed to serve you. It was designed to use you. Break the script or stay stuck in it.
Yeah, that's a pretty powerful message. I mean, I guess. The one thing I will say though is like, facts. Why does anyone have to work for such long hours? Then half of it goes to taxes. No. It's just like, you work. It's like, dude, were you there when I was working these hours? So why do I have to pay half of it? I mean, realistically, it's around like 20 to 30%, but like, still crazy, man. Still crazy.
Thank you all for watching.